He delivers a 1-0 to the righty batter. Swinging a high fly ball, right center field, well hit. Backing up, it's Bader all the way to the wall. It sails, and that ball is gone. A home run for Teoscar Hernandez. The Dodgers get a huge blow from a guy who's had a very difficult night, but he has just atoned for all of that to put LA in front 5-3.
It is 1st and 10 from the 11. First down. Nix rolls, looks, fires against the grain, completes it, and in for a touchdown goes Ingram.
I think a more apropos song to start this show today would have been the Bengals' Manic Monday. But alas, here we are, the Sports Bash live at the Fanatics Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. It was a brutal weekend for the Philly teams, starting with the Philadelphia Phillies on Saturday night. Up, everybody, Sports Bash Live. I'm your host, Mike Gill. Pete G is my on-site producer. Josh Henning is back in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios. You out there, we are live on the X platform, YouTube, the radio, and, of course, the free mobile app. There's so many ways you can get involved today. The entire first hour is you and I together. We'll take all your text messages, 609-403-0973. 609-403-0973. Text messages all throughout this hour. Bob Wankel at 3. We got Sal Powell coming up tonight at 5. Mike McGarry is going to join us at 5:30 live from Citizens Bank Park. But the Eagles game yesterday, we got to start there. We'll get into the Phillies in the next segment because that game happened on Saturday. We'll look at the game that happened yesterday. And the comments that I have from people that are watching on the YouTube channel were all Eagles related. So it seems that people are a little bit more Eagle thoughts because of how close the game was yesterday. But there are so many things with this Eagles team. You know, we asked the question a couple of weeks ago, does this feel like the 2023 team? And a lot of people wanted to say, no, not really, because of the defense. And I agree that the defense is different. They're a better defense than the 2023 defense. They gave up 18 points in the fourth quarter yesterday. That is a game at 17-3 in the fourth quarter. That's not even a question whether or not they win that game last year. They, like an anaconda snake, just wrapped themselves around your neck and squeezed the life out of you last year in that game. And yesterday, they absolutely left the door open for the Denver Broncos to get back in that game and then gave them the game. They didn't just let them back in the game. They gave them the game. You know, people talking about the offense and this and that, the play caller, they ran the ball once in the second half. They ran the ball one time in the second half. I don't, you know, this is a team last year that game was over. 17-3, they would run the game out, and the game would be over. And they can't do that right now. They can't do it for a variety of reasons. The offensive line right now is a problem. Their offensive line is not good enough to be the team that they were a year ago. They can't run games out. Now, yesterday they were running the ball pretty well. You know, I think Saquon Barkley had 6 carries for 30 yards. That's 5 yards a carry. You know, that generally should be a successful day running the football. They threw the ball 38 times yesterday. They threw the ball with a 17-3 lead, and they could not get first downs. They could not keep the sticks moving. They could not keep drives going, and they kept the Denver Broncos in that game. I don't know who you want to blame for that game yesterday, but there's plenty of blame to go all around for that game yesterday. And I think it's got to start with, quite frankly, the entire week of practice and Nick Sirianni. What was the game plan in this game? You got a 17-point lead, a 17-3 lead in the fourth quarter of a game at home, and you can't close that game out. You can't close that game out. Now, the defense is out there sucking wind. They're on the field all day long. Look, the officiating in that game yesterday was an atrocity. But you can't let that be the reason why you couldn't get that game finished yesterday. A 17-3 lead in the fourth quarter at home, and you can't get one flipping first down. I don't care if you get a 7-play drive and then punt the ball down the other end and flip the field. They couldn't even do that. You got all sorts of problems with this offense right now. And a lot of it, look, I think it stems from the offensive line being a big problem. I think the offensive line is definitely a big problem. It's not the same offensive line. You got Landon Dickerson's banged up. You've got Tyler Steen, who's just not as good as Mekhi Becton. You've got Juergens, who's not the same player right now. He's banged up. Look, even Jordan Mailata, I thought he had a tough game yesterday. Mailata got beat. Their offensive line, it used to be a fait accompli that line was going to win the game for you. They can't do it right now. That game should be over. 17-3 at home. That game should be over. But the big thing that we should be looking at here is it's crazy to think that a 17-3 game is all that this offense can get. 17 points. Yes, they should have won the game 17-10 or whatever it should have been, a close game. But they shouldn't be winning games like this. This team is too talented. It's too good. It's too talented. It's too good. And, yeah, we go through this whole, well, they're winning games, they're winning games, they're winning games, they're finding ways to win, they're finding ways to win. We had this. In 2023, they found ways to win. There was a fight. They did this. They found ways to win. You know, you remember they played Dallas that game in Dallas, and what happened was I believe the tight end stepped out of bounds or something. It was like things like that kept happening that year to give you wins until it all caught up to you. Right now, that game, that season, it took 11 weeks to catch up to you. Right now, we're in week 5. We're in week 5, and they could not find a way to win that game yesterday. And that's concerning. The defense to give up 18 points in that game, that's a problem. You know, how is your defense? Now, I get it. They're on the field all day long. But you have this great defense, and they cannot get off the field against a pretty pedestrian Denver offense. This isn't some great Denver offense. You gave up 18 points in the fourth quarter to that team. You gave up 18 points in the fourth quarter to a team that's middle of the road offensively at best. At best. 609-403-0973. And then, you know, you got another week where you got the coaches and the players on the sidelines yelling at each other. They kept showing the camera to A.J. Brown. He looked like he was just kind of content sitting there. You had a couple plays in the game. The A.J. Brown miss, that one keeps getting talked about. Did Brown stop? What happened? We just didn't connect on it. Did he not run his route? The throw was a little out of, reach there. But that's a play that if that play is connected on, there was at least 3 plays yesterday that need to be connected on, that weren't connected on, that end that game. That flat out end that game. That game yesterday was about as frustrating, because, listen, there's not a lot of times where you get frustrated with this team because you win so much. But the one time you lose and all the little things that you're in the back of your mind, they creep up and they creep up like at some point this might get you. The question will be, did what got you yesterday start to get you? Because I'll say this. They play the Giants, who stink, on Thursday night. The Giants lost to the Saints yesterday. The Giants lost to the Saints, and they stink. I'm sure I won't get a text message from the Jackson Dart dude out there that keeps telling me how good he is, because he stunk yesterday. But that Giants team does one thing pretty good, and they play pretty good defense. And on a short week, if you're trying to get your offense back and you're trying to find a way to just get going and get on the right track, it's probably not the team I'm asking to play on a short week, is a team that plays good defense. Because the Giants, their quarterback, their offense stinks. But they do play good defense. They can dial up a defensive effort against you. So just because you're playing the Giants, this doesn't feel like, hey, at least the Giants are on the schedule. 609-403. I'm about to give my own number out. I'm that agitated. 609.
And you haven't even gotten into the Phillies yet.
No, I'll hold off on the Phillies to the next segment. 609-403-0973. 609-403-0973. I want to play a couple quick bites before we get to the... By the way, the bites you heard in the opener Evan Ingram scoring that touchdown right here on 97.3 ESPN. That was the touchdown, and then they didn't even hesitate going for two. You know why? They knew they had you. They could see the doubt in your face yesterday, and it was two immediately because they saw that you were shaken. That looked like Drago in Rocky IV in the later rounds. He just like, wait a second, what? What just hit? I don't even know what to do at this point. 609-403-0973. But there was one message after the game that seemingly was on the same page, and it was that they weren't on the same page. Here's Dallas Goedert.
Obviously, little things, that we did to ourselves, being on different pages, a couple penalties where we have a nice run, it gets called back. We hit down the field, it gets called back. Things like that need to be cleaned up. Obviously, missed one down the field deep. The game could have went different, and, offensively, I feel like we let the team down for sure.
Yeah, offensively, I think we let the team down. But the messaging there, we're not on the same page. It sounded like something very similar to what Devontae Smith had to say.
Still can get a lot better. We shot ourselves in the foot a lot. Left a couple plays out there we wasn't on the same page, but ultimately we got to get on the same page and continue to be on the same page.
Got to get on the same page. Same page. Everything seems to be that they're not on the same page, at least offensively. That's concerning. You're 5 weeks into the season now. The first 4 weeks, okay, fine. It's a preseason. You're getting kind of going. This guy's a new coordinator. He's trying to get his feet wet. You get 4 preseason games in a past life. That's how many you got. And the coordinator got 3 preseason games and now 4 regular season games to start calling plays, feel a little bit more comfortable. If you can't feel a little bit better about this team and calling plays 4 weeks in now you got to start asking questions. Did you acquiesce to A.J. Brown last week because he complained, so you dialed up 38 passes? Because 38 passes has not been the recipe. Jalen Hurts said it after the game. That's not who we are. Jalen Hurts said it. We got to run the ball. That's who we are. That's how. But can they run the ball is a big question, too. Can they run the ball? It seems like they cannot do it. They tried one time in the second half. I think they got 0 yards. 609-403-0973. Text board. We'll play off some texts in just a second. But here's what Rex Ryan thinks about the problems the Eagles are having.
It's coaching. That's what it tells me. They have no confidence in the coaching, and they shouldn't. This is a new offensive coordinator, okay, guy that's probably never called plays, or sure doesn't appear to when I watch him, because there's no rhythm to the dang offense. Here's the thing that drives you crazy. This team did have an identity last year, and you know when it took over? When they started saying, instead of fly, Eagles fly, I used to say run, Eagles run.
Right.
That was their identity. About 60%
it,
of the time they ran the football. How about this in the second half when you're ahead in this game? 24 offensive plays, 23 drop-back plays, 23 drop-back passes. Against, by the way, a team that you need to run the ball against. The thing they do best is rush the passer and play tight coverage. What the hell are you doing?
Yeah, there was a lot there, but he said the coaching doesn't look like he knows what he's doing in terms of calling the plays. Looks like he's never done it before. There's no rhythm to it. When you dial up one pass, you had a 17-3 lead. You had a 17-3 lead. People want to complain about how conservative the Eagles' offense is. You know when the time to be conservative was? When you're up 17-3. When you're up 17-3, hand the ball off, let the clock run. Do what you do best. Instead, you threw the ball all over the yard. You kept doing what? Stopping the clock. Now, I get it. It's frustrating. How the hell can this team not complete a pass with the arsenal of receivers that they have? Well, unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be their strong suit. Whoever's fault that is, I'll leave that up to you. 609-403-0973. Finally, what is the identity of the offense, Damian Woody?
You cannot lose something that you never had. The Philadelphia Eagles never had an identity this year. They can't run the ball well. They can't sustain blocks up front. We've heard the constant chattering from the wide receivers about the passing game, lack of targets, the lack of what they're doing. Quite honestly, they're not doing anything well offensively. And listen, they're right. They are letting down their defense. Their defense is playing winning football. They're playing championship style of football. But there is no consistency whatsoever in any aspect of the Philadelphia Eagles offense.
There you go. No consistency in any aspect. You can't get consistency when you only try to run the ball one time. Josh, what do we got on the text board? Let's hit them hard.
We got a lot, so let's try to get through as many as we can at 609-403-0973. We will start with Phil in Brigantine. He says, Mike, good afternoon. It's perplexing to say that the least, he says from the Phillies, by the way, Rob Thompson let Robertson to start the 7th. He said, disappointing weekend for the Phillies. Also, perplexing is the word of the day. At least the Eagles' offense, so much talent and such mediocrity. It is all about Patullo immaturity as offense coordinator. He says, can Josh pull a Hembo and let us know how many 3-and-outs the Eagles had so far this year? It's ridiculous.
Well, they lead the league in 3-and-outs. We know that.
Yes.
Their 3-and-out percentage, I think it's about 45, which is awful. The Philly stuff we'll touch on a little bit later. I think one of the big problems with this offense right now is the offensive line. And last year, they could just run that game out. I think they have no confidence that they can run the game out right now. So, therefore, they're kind of in this middle ground of where they want to be a running team, but they can't run the ball. And then teams are now stacking them and saying, you're not going to run on us. You're just not going to even – so now you can't even attempt it. So then they run their 2 high safeties, and that's where the Eagles struggle the most. When they see 2 high safeties – yesterday Denver's playing a lot of man coverage. They play man more than anybody in the league. And in the first half, they had some success throwing the football against them. Then Denver changes their looks up a little bit in the second half, and you don't even try to run the ball on them. So you had a whole smorgasbord of opportunity yesterday, and you missed a lot of throws. That was another thing. You did have plays out there. And listen, I went back and watched a lot today because yesterday, quite frankly, I was on the ferry trying to watch the Eagles game. And by the way, Dewey Beach, bad job by them. Their channels down there are Salisbury, Maryland, so a lot of the TV stations are airing the damn Dallas Jet game. So I'm trying to watch on my phone.
That's a shame.
So I had to watch. Finally, the funny part is I get on the ferry. They had the Dallas game on the TV in the boat. But my YouTube TV was set up to Salisbury, Maryland until literally once the boat took off, it switched back over.
Back to Philly.
So I did get to watch the entire second half of the game on the boat. And
that was
then,
the bad half, yeah.
Yeah, I got to see the worst part of it all. But then I got a chance to go back and watch this morning. And in the All-22, you could see, look, the Eagles need to figure out a way to have Jalen Hurts say, hey, listen, he got sacked, 6 times yesterday?
6 times.
6 times yesterday. And I saw in at least 4 of those sacks where there's a Will Shipley or a safety valve. Just get it to that guy. Just throw him the ball.
A lot
Guy's
of it,
wide open.
A lot of it is Jalen will extend a play, leave the pocket, and then just do nothing with the ball and just get
he
hit.
took a lot of I thought he took a lot of bad
he's been
sacks
doing that
yesterday.
recently a lot.
What else we got?
We got Monday Marcus chimes in. Guys, A.J. Brown, I get. He needs to finish routes to stop pouting, but he can't call for more run plays. He says the penalties galore for the whole team, and as good as Howie Roseman is in personnel, why did this team not recognize they need a better offensive coordinator? He says there's no Cliff Kingsbury, no Josh McDaniels, heck, Greg Roman. He said Detroit had one bad game week 1, and they fixed their offense. He says we all know how the 2023 season went, says Monday Marcus.
Sirianni was given the benefit of the doubt to hire his guy because he won the Super Bowl. That's
should
why.
they have given the benefit of the doubt?
I mean, would you want the benefit of the doubt? You won the Super Bowl. Can't I get any say?
Is it say or is it, hey, Nick, we know that Patullo is your guy, but maybe we need to bring in somebody else just to help him a little bit. Maybe like an assistant, like back in the day when Marty Morningwell was on Andy Reid's staff as an assistant to Andy Reid.
Maybe. I'm just saying, I do think that there's, you earn a microcosm of
Trust, yeah.
You earn a microcosm of clout. I win the Super Bowl. You're telling me now I can't be trusted to hire my own coordinator? I get that part of it. That doesn't mean he made the right decision, but he should be afforded the chance to pick the guy to replace the guy that he lost, especially now that he's going on his 5th guy. 4th guy?
5th. Well, 5th play caller and hurts
Doug
his ear.
Peterson.
Well, no. I'm saying, remember, Sirianni initially called plays in 2021. Then they switched midseason to Steichen. Then it was Brian Johnson. Then it was Kellen Moore. And now Patullo's the 5th guy and hurts his ear.
It's really the 6th guy because he was here with Doug Peterson.
But we're talking about during the Sirianni era.
Yeah, it hurts.
Right, no, but yeah, you're saying that Hurts had this is another play caller for him. Right. I think Sirianni wanted to try to streamline it and keep it as simple as possible, as close to what they've already been doing.
Well, it's unlikely they're doing what they've been doing because
it's not working.
There's no question that Patullo was bullied into throwing the ball, especially to A.J. Brown. There's no question that what happened during the week and what A.J. Brown had to say, there's no question that he was bullied into that.
You have a 17-3 lead. Okay, and that game's over.
Over.
In the fourth quarter, you're the home team. You're the defending Super Bowl champions. You're up 17-3. The game is over. The only way you lose that game is that you completely get away from what you do, and that's what happened yesterday. That game last year, they run that game out, and that game is over.
But to Pete's point, is there maybe part of this where maybe they were hearing the words outside the building, and they were saying, "Oh man, we got to throw the ball here."
Yes,
I think
A.J.
that's what
Brown
happened.
was
yes.
pouting all week long, and then he gave up on that route, that the dagger that should have ended the game. He gave up on that route, and that's what happened.
Listen, there was a lot of throws yesterday that the Goddard one, he's wide open. They missed that throw. The Dotson one, he misses. There was 3 or 4 throws that end that game yesterday. So if you're aggressive, which they were trying to be aggressive yesterday to end that game. The problem is you already had the lead. There was no need for you to be aggressive.
And by the way, you
built the lead up already.
You were averaging 4.1 yards per rush yesterday.
Barkley averaged 5 yards a carry. They were running the ball fine. I got this email late in the game at 3:36. This is Sirianni's worst game management job ever. Up 17-3, and he's throwing the ball, 3 straight incompletions. Instead of running it, just take Denver out of the game. Instead, the Eagles give Denver new life. The Philly defense has to go back on the field on a hot day. So stupid. Sirianni has kept Denver in this game. Denver has 26 minutes time of possession, 7 more than Philly, all because of Sirianni.
How much do you blame? Are we saying that Sirianni should have asserted himself into the conversation and walked over to Patullo and said, "Bro, run the ball"?
Absolutely.
Okay.
At that point, you say, you get on that, you have the headset to everybody. You're the head coach. You say, Kevin, if you throw another pass, I'm taking over. That's it. You throw another pass, I'm taking over. You'll throw a pass when I tell you to throw another pass because we're up 17-3, and you are giving them this game. You are letting them get back in the game. So I don't blame him for the play calls. I do say you got to step in there and say, yo, you've ran the ball one time. Now, you can make this argument on the other side and say, well, they don't run the ball very well. They ran the ball 5 yards a clip yesterday, right?
In the first half, they were very good.
Yeah, Saquon ran a 5 clip, but for the team, they ran 4.1. So even if it wasn't Saquon, other guys were still getting yards too.
Yeah, but not to mention that you had the penalty on Barkley, which was horrible. Not being set.
Well, yeah,
a procedure penalty, awful, because that's a 30-yard play.
I counted about 5 calls that the referees probably.
Well, the Goddard thing at the end of the game, he's absolutely getting destroyed.
Intentional grounding, Goddard
the
PI.
fumble.
Bo Nix fumble, incomplete pass. That's kind of a coin flip, I guess. The Dotson bobble, you mentioned that earlier.
Yeah.
But again, we're not talking about any of this if they just run the ball.
That's the frustrating thing to me is people want to complain that they're too conservative, this and that. They win because they're conservative. They win because they shorten games. They win because they win the battle of possession, the clock. They win because it is a battle of attrition that they generally beat you on. And they didn't do that yesterday. They got away from it. They got away from what helped them win a Super Bowl. And that's concerning. 609-403-0973. You want to talk about concerning? Now, I called 3-1 Dodgers. They won by 2, but it was 5-3. But it was very similar to what I thought the game would be. It just happened a little differently. We're going to get into that next. Your text messages. Phillies lose. Phillies game 2 tonight on 97.3
Right back on the
ESPN.
horse, baby.
Yep, right after we're done, we're going to go to first pitch right here on 97.3 ESPN.
He delivers a 1-0 to the righty batter. Swinging a high fly ball right center field. Well hit. Backing up, it's Bader all the way to the wall. It sails, and that ball is gone. A home run for Teoscar Hernandez. The Dodgers get a huge blow from a guy who's had a very difficult night, but he has just atoned for all of that to put LA in front 5-3.
How do you kind of bounce back from this one? It's a tough one with, you get to Ohtani early and you have a lead late and you let it slip away.
Yeah, it's tough loss, but, we got to shake it off and come out here Monday and get after it again. It's a shorter series. It's not a 7-game series, and we got to put it behind us, and these guys are pretty good at that.
As heard on 97.3 ESPN, Teoscar Hernandez hits a 3-run homer. Phillies lose. They lose more than the game. Lineup is out for the Phillies, and it does not include Harrison Bader. He will not play tonight. Turner, Schwarber, Harper, Bohm, Real Muto, Castellanos, Sosa, Marsh is in center. Otto Kemp is playing left field for the Phillies in Game 2. Got to have a Game 2. Luzardo on the mound. Now, I would have pitched Ranger Suarez tonight.
Well, he still might pitch, right?
I would have started Ranger Suarez tonight. I would have started Ranger Suarez tonight. I'll tell you why. We can get into what happened in Game 1, and we will in a second. The season's on the line right here tonight. You cannot lose this game. And I know that Ranger Suarez, maybe he doesn't win the game or whatever, but he will pitch his ass off. I'm not saying Luzardo won't, but Luzardo can give up 10 runs in 3 innings, or he can have 10 strikeouts in 7 innings. I just don't know what I'm getting. I'm just throwing out a guy. And to me, I got to get this win no matter what. And that's one of the reasons why you just said they have Ranger Suarez and Aaron Nola available in the bullpen tonight, Rob Thompson said. And essentially, whichever guy's not used in the bullpen tonight will be the starter in game number 3. You don't even know who's starting the third game right now. Now, the game the other day, you're up 3-0 against Ohtani. This is like the Phillies being up 17-3. You have got to figure out a way to win that game. Now, to me, I'm not taking out Christopher Sanchez in that spot. I'm not taking Christopher Sanchez out in that spot. Now,
even if you thought he was tiring, because JT Realmuto did admit after the game that he noticed Christopher Sanchez was getting a little tired, getting a little fatigued.
He did say
late
that
in that game.
He did say that, and I guess that's a way to kind of just say, hey, yeah, he seemed like he was tired. He did walk a guy, right? The walk is what changed the whole game. To me, that walk changed the whole game because he walks. Who was it? In the 6th inning there. He walked Freeman. And then that freaking Hernandez, man. Kike Hernandez again.
Rips it down the line.
Every time it's Kike Hernandez. Who was the guy we talked about on Thursday and on Friday? It's Hernandez. He comes up with a big hit every single time. And when you get 2 outs to start the inning and you walk Freeman, but that's what I'm saying. You got the first 2 outs, okay? And I get it. You walk Freeman, and then Edman gets the singles, and then Kike gets a double. At that point, I'm still sticking with my guy. That being said, here's the situation. David Robertson comes in, and he gets the out.
Yeah.
So he gets Muncy out. Then people have the problem that Robertson came back in to throw the next inning.
That's my problem, yeah.
Well, I didn't have a problem with it, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
You had the 8 and 9 hole hitters coming up to bat, right? You got the bottom of their lineup. If I bring in another pitcher, because you have the 8 and 9 hole hitters, then who's up third?
That's kind of what Ohtani.
Ohtani, correct. So if I start a pitcher in that inning, he has to face 3 hitters. So I'm screwed either way. So do I start Strom because I know Ohtani's coming up and then have the 2 8 and 9 hole hitters face a left-handed pitcher? Because their 8 and 9 hole hitters are pretty dangerous. So the reasoning is if I start Robertson in that inning, he only has to face 2 guys because he already started the inning before. He's a grown man. He can't throw one batter.
He is so grown. He's 40.
That's my point.
That's how grown he is. He's 40 years old, and he should not have been put in that position, especially with a rested bullpen.
Who else? Okay, here's the next question. In that spot, Robertson starts against Pages, who's right-handed, and Smith. Who would you have gone to? Kerkering?
Well, Kerkering did pitch well.
He did pitch well, but my point is, if he would have gone to Kerkering in that moment, people would have been like, what the hell are you doing?
He is rising up the trust ladder.
Off of one outing. But that's the point is, Kerkering, leading into this game, nobody would have put Kerkering in that spot. Now, you can make an argument to me, why wouldn't you throw Ranger Suarez in that spot right there? Okay, in the 7th inning. But the point I'm making is, you got Pages and Smith, the 8 and 9 hole hitters. The next guy on the ledger would be Ohtani. So you don't want to have the right-hander face Ohtani. So he starts the right-hander, but he knows he can get him out after 2. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And, I mean, with that said, Ohtani did not have a good night at the plate.
He did not, and that was because he was facing Sanchez, a lefty. He was struggling. You certainly didn't want him to face a right-hander. So if he puts Kerkering in the game there, he has to face a right-hander because you can't take Kerkering out. So that move there doesn't bother me nearly as much. The Sanchez thing, I would have left Sanchez in the game and instead of Robertson, but it doesn't matter. Robertson got out of the inning. So what I would have done was inconsequential. So he goes to Robertson to start the 7th inning to face the 2 right-handers, and he does that because he knows I can get him out after the first 2 hitters. So he actually says, hey, listen, if I keep Robertson in there, I can get him out to face Ohtani. But if I start somebody different in that inning, they have to face 3 hitters. So the move actually makes sense when you think about it.
Managerial, it does, but I think you also have to take into account that who you're working with. David Robertson hasn't really done the up-down thing all that much.
You
he
can make
40.
a case that
he didn't pitch a whole season. He was on his couch.
You can make the case that in that spot that if you wanted someone to pitch to the right-handers the next inning, the other answer is you could have gone to Kerkering in that spot. But would you have felt all that good if he went to Kerkering in that spot with Kiki Hernandez? You can't put him on that spot. How many times has Kerkering come in with runners on base and not got out of the inning? The inherited runners have been a thorn in his side all season long. That's why I stick with Sanchez. Now, the problem with my reasoning of sticking with Sanchez is then who starts the 7th inning? Because I still have the 2 right-handed hitters, the 8-9 hole hitters. And I want the lefty for Ohtani. So he actually does make the right decision by putting the relief pitcher in that spot so that he can get them out in the next inning after only 2 batters.
And Ohtani did strike out that inning.
He struck out to Strom. And by the way, Strom comes in and he does a nice job, except for the home run he gave up to Hernandez.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, same situation there. Strom is brought into the game. He has to face 3 hitters. So the second he faces a right-handed batter in Teoscar Hernandez, he gives up a home run.
A meatball home run.
Yes. Well, he got Ohtani and Betts out.
Guys, what about the accusations that Strom was tipping his pitches and they showed that one camera angle? It looked like he had his glove open and that Pages supposedly was signaling to Hernandez at the plate, this pitch is coming, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if they
did miss his spot though, pretty bad, right?
Yeah, he said that. I mean, but listen, if he was tipping pitches, he's tipping pitches. I mean, that's the whole, like what we were talking about the other day. I mean, the fact that you tip pitches on the home or the road or this and that. If there's something that other teams, look, I coach 13-year-old kids. They find out. They can see little tips and tells at 13 years old. You don't think a major league, so this stuff happens. He threw a fastball, he elevated it, and it's still going. I mean, he crushed it. But that's a little bit like, to me, we're all talking about this, that, the bullpen, this guy. I'll tell you what you should be talking about. You want to fire off all your texts that the manager did this or that? I got something for you, okay? You have $700 million wrapped into your top 3 hitters in the lineup. They went 1 for 11 with 6 strikeouts. That's what we should be focused on.
That's what BC and Bowers Beach texted him, Mike. He said, Turner, Schwarber, Harper, 1 for 11 on Saturday night. Got to do better tonight. And then he says at least Temple football won this weekend after the Phillies and Eagles lost.
Yeah, I don't care about Temple football, BC, and Bowers Beach. Thanks for your text.
Who'd they play?
This is Texas San Antonio.
Oh, there you go.
It's the same problem in every series. Turner, Harper, Schwarber, 1 for 11, 6 strikeouts. There's your problem. There's your problem. You can't win with $700 million worth of guys getting one meaningless hit late in the game for Bryce Harper. You can't have Kyle Schwarber, who all season long, it's real cute to talk about how many home runs he hits, and you got to sign Schwarber, and you got to pay him right now. Give me the last time you remember Kyle Schwarber coming up with a big hit in a big, meaningful spot in a playoff game. I know Harper's done it. I could give you a Harper one.
Well, that was 3 years ago at this point, right?
You're right about that. When was the last time Harper came up in a big spot and did something for you? I'm very hard to remember anything Turner has done for you. But I know Turner's paycheck is pretty damn big, and everybody told me how good all year, how good he was.
Well, that's what's interesting. What Jim from Williamstown texted in at 609-403-0973. He says, yo, Mike. He says, if the top four don't produce tonight in the loss, you ought to bench him for Game 3. Topper has nothing to lose at this point if they lose this game tonight. He will be this year's scapegoat if they don't win this series.
Well, listen, it's always the manager, because everybody thinks that they can manage a game. Everybody knows everything. Everybody played baseball. They know that's why the manager always gets the criticism, because everybody listening knows they can't do what the players can do. They all think they can do what the manager does. But in the end, this is the players. Turner, Harper, Schwarber, those three guys. Listen, can you win a game 3-0? Sure. Okay? I scored 3 runs, but here's the problem.
Not against the Dodgers.
I scored 3 runs, exactly. I scored 3 runs early in that game, and I didn't put them away. I kept them in the game. And I tweeted this out at one moment during the game. It was 3-0, and at that moment, I said to myself, Ohtani has settled in, and now you're in your bullpen. They got into your bullpen. Yes, they were trailing 3-0, but it's just like the Phillies. If I can get it to your bullpen, I feel a lot differently about the game, don't I? And your 3 runs were not enough because of your bullpen.
And they happened in the second inning, and they didn't do anything since that second inning. And to me, it's the same story as it was last year against the Mets. Those bats just went silent.
And let me tell you,
if they're not hitting home runs, they're not really producing.
And
right?
not only did the bats go silent, Shohei Ohtani toyed with Bryce Harper. He toyed with him. He said, Bryce Harper, I'm going to make you look like a sucker. He threw him 2 100-mile-per-hour fastballs, not on the outside part of the plate, not on the black. He threw 2 100-mile-per-hour fastballs, right center cut down the middle. And Harper couldn't catch up to the first one. And then the second one he stared right at because he had no idea it was coming. And then Ohtani made him look ridiculous on the third pitch. He didn't even try to go out of the zone, up and elevate his eyes. He said, I got you so confused right now, you have no shot in this at-bat. And he did it not 1 at-bat against Harper. He did it 2 at-bats against Harper. He was toying with Bryce Harper. And as I talked about on Friday, Shohei Ohtani, when he gets going, he will overpower this team. The easiest bet of the day was the over strikeouts. I took Ohtani and Sanchez, by the way.
Oh, did you?
Wow, that was an easy money. The Phillies against Ohtani. The over-under was 6.
That's a pocket change for that ferry ride. I like that.
Well, but to your point about the hitters, I would go to what Eric says on the YouTube channel, Mike. He says the problem has been the Phillies. They all slump together.
Mm-hmm.
This has now been, as you mentioned, multiple times, Pete, right? They've done it every single postseason. They get to a point where the whole team can't hit.
By the way, 8:28, there's my tweet. This isn't good. Ohtani has settled in. Phillies in their bullpen. Some guy tweeted at me, Ohtani ain't got much left in the tank. I said, I don't know what game you're watching, dude. That guy was getting better as the game went on.
Well, that's why he was on the ropes, man, and they just let him off the hook.
They let him off the hook, and then they got into the bullpen. And we talk about the Dodger bullpen. Here's the difference. The Dodger bullpen right now, they're going to Tyler Glass now and Sasaki. Those guys weren't in their bullpen earlier in the season. So you did load the bases up, by the way, in the 9th inning. You got, I think, Turner, walked, and Schwarber struck out. And then
Marsh was pinch hit for Sosa.
Harper got a hit, and then boom, walked. And that loaded the bases.
And then he pinch hit.
And then they pinch hit Sosa for Marsh.
Bader got pulled.
Well, that was a moment, and I said that's a terrible decision by Thompson, but now we now know. I mean, I said, you're really hitting Castellanos for anybody, let alone Bader, but we now know Bader was hurt. So I'm sure that was the last thing he wanted to do. But at that point, I said, that's an in-game decision that you can blame the manager on, but now we know what happened. He was hurt. Now, I will say this. The decision to go to Robertson in that spot to bring him back out there, I'm interested in that one. Like, did they already decide, hey, Robertson's the guy tonight. He's the guy that gets the big inning. Because a lot of times in these playoffs, that sixth inning is when you really go to the high leverage guy. And then did they, well, obviously with the righties in the lineup in the 8-9 and then Ohtani, that's an easy one.
I mean, those guys went hit. Ohtani and Betts went hitless. They were 0 for 9 in that game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I will say this. I don't like the decision to start Luzardo tonight, and I hope I'm wrong. I'd start Ranger tonight. I don't know what the hell they're thinking about. I would imagine this is like hey, let's have Ranger in case this happens. Now, I thought Ranger would have been available if Sanchez struggled. I think that's what they had him in game 1 for. If Sanchez just didn't have it and struggled, I think they would have gone to Ranger earlier in the game. I don't think he was really somebody they wanted to go to in the 6th inning to the 7th inning in that situation.
Well, if Ranger,
but the Dodgers did it.
They did do it. If Ranger pitches tonight, they're in trouble, right? I mean, if Luzardo doesn't go 6-7 strong innings and he's got to get pulled early, that's not a good sign.
All right. Your text messages continue on the other side, plus the poll question is up right now at Mike Gill Show. Vote, 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 vote. Text it in right now. Which loss made your Monday worse, the Phillies or Eagles?
I can't. Phillies. That Teoscar Hernandez home run, man, that thing reached my soul. I'll tell you that.
We'll read them off next. Which loss made your Monday worse? Phillies or Eagles? Pete, you said Phillies?
Absolutely. Yep.
Josh?
100% the Eagles.
Really?
Listen, I know the Phillies
They're
disappointed
4-1.
me. The Phillies disappointed me numerous times. I had no hope for this team.
Yeah, I Dodgers to win. I'm not surprised by the loss, but the style of loss does
style
bother me a
loss.
little bit. Which loss made my Monday worse? Probably the Eagles. I'll tell you
Really?
why. Because I expect the Phillies to lose this series.
See, you're like
I
me,
just
Mike.
think they're just not better than the Dodgers. Like, I have no ideas of grandeur here. The Dodgers this guy just texted in. He said he's a Dodger fan. He says Ohtani's their third best pitcher. I don't disagree with him. You ain't hitting Ohtani. You got 3 runs off of him. And you couldn't figure out a way in that game. You think, like, Blake Snell tonight is going to strike out 12 guys.
Take the over. Over bet, Mike?
Dude, he's
facing Otto Kemp.
I'll tell you one thing that the Dodgers have done. If you were noticing in this series, and there was an article written about this at The Athletic, the Dodgers are a highly analytical team. It's been well publicized that they do a lot of, planning things out. But one thing that they are doing in their plan is letting these pitchers pitch longer.
Yes.
They are going deeper into games. Blake Snell, Ohtani, they are allowing the starters to have a bigger role in the game. And right now, our poll question at Mike Gill Show, you can vote. Which losses made your Monday worse? 60-40 right now. 60% Phillies, 40% Eagles.
That's that's the Francisco Lindor Grand Slam.
Let me tell you,
It's that kind of pain.
The Eagles. I expected the Phillies to lose. I picked it on Friday.
Did you expect them to blow a 3-run lead in the 6th inning?
No, I did not. But I did expect them to lose, so I'm not surprised. And I expect them to lose this series, so I'm not surprised by that. And I expected their offense to take a crap. I'm not surprised by that.
They did do that.
What I am disheartened by is I'm seeing the cracks of the Eagles' offense, and I don't know that it's fixable. I don't know that they have the right people in place to fix the offense, and I think the offense is a big problem moving forward here, and that's why that loss made me worse than the Phillies loss, because I expected it from the Phillies. I don't expect it to be with the talent the Eagles have, and that's a problem.
Home of the Sports Bash with Mike Gill, 97.3 ESPN.
Ooh, that's good.
WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City.
The lefties 1-1. Swinging a high fly ball center field. Backing up. It's Pages. He's under. Plenty of room. He'll make the catch to retire the side. The Phillies load him up, but they leave him loaded. And that's the end of 8 in Philadelphia, with the Dodgers leading the Phillies 5-3 as we go to the 9th.
As heard on 97.3 ESPN, the Phillies load them up in the 9th, but they couldn't get anything across against the Dodger bullpen. And the Phillies lose 5-3. So many things in this game we can get into. It's a Mike and Bob Monday baseball chat, Red October style, and pretty much look like a lot of other Red October games. Score a couple runs early, and then you can't get anything going. And, of course, the team loses 5-3. They're down 1-0 in the best of 5. Got a game tonight. There's some wild stuff happening with this game tonight already. We'll get into that as well. Bob, when you look back at the game, my man, what is the number one thing that kind of sticks out as the moment in that game?
Well, I mean, I think everybody's obviously going to point to the 7th inning and the David Robertson-Matt Strahm combination not being able to get it done. But I think that an overlooked sequence came in the 5th inning with the Phillies holding a 3-0 lead. They had been quieted offensively for a couple innings after the 3-run second. And you get Trey Turner and Kyle Schwarber up to the plate with a chance to really extend the lead and do some damage. Really similar trajectory to what we saw in the Eagles game yesterday. They have a lead. You have a chance to deliver a knockout blow. You can't do it. And then all hell breaks loose in the 7th inning. So those were the two sequences of the game that I think dictated the game and its conclusion. And quite honestly, what really sticks out is that game felt like everybody's worst fears about this team realized. Top of the order not doing it when it matters, leaving runners on base in key situations, bullpen unable to hold leads, overshadowing a quality starting pitching performance by Christopher Sanchez.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, let's look at that moment there. The Robertson thing. All right, so they go to Robertson in the 6th to get 1 out against Muncy. Is the thought there that we'll go here to Robertson because we want him to also start the next inning because we know that we can get him out after 2 batters so he doesn't have to be the guy to face Ohtani? In other words, if I leave Sanchez in the game or I go to somebody else, I know that there's a left-handed hitter looming. So is that the thought process there?
I think so. I mean, there's no chance that Robertson's ever going to get to the top of the order against Ohtani, so Strahm's always going to be in the game at that point. It just didn't work out. Now, certainly you can question Rob Thompson's decision to go back to Robertson. I will tell you in real time, I did not love it.
Well, listen, I agree with you on that, but doesn't he go back to Robertson? Because if he goes to somebody else, they have to face 3 hitters.
Yes, I mean, that's the big part of it, because if you get Kerkering into the game, you're going to have to square him up against Ohtani in that spot, right? Or if it's now what you could have done, you could have theoretically gone to Strahm for the entirety of the 7th inning and had him take down 8-9. But remember, that's Pages, and then that's Will Smith, who's typically their cleanup hitter, and that's a lefty-righty matchup that you don't love. And then you would have him for Ohtani, but then it's right behind him? Betts. So is Strahm for the duration of that 7th inning really what you want? You're kind of exposing him to bad matchups there.
Right.
At the end of the day, you can question Thompson's decision-making, and I think that that's fair and that's warranted. Now, the one thing that they could have done, assuming that Ranger Suarez was not just a decoy, they could have considered going to him much the way that Los Angeles and Dave Roberts went to Glasnow and Sasaki, taking your starting pitchers and covering up what is a thin bullpen. They opted not to do that. It burned them. But, it does also come down to execution, Mike. At some point, Matt Strahm's one of their dudes. Like, you've got to execute. You can't miss a pitch, miss your spot by 2 feet to Teoscar Hernandez. I mean, you just can't do it.
Yeah, that's the spot I agree with, because everybody's complaining that you went to Robertson, he's 40 years old, was he the guy? You can make the question there, but I think they obviously were trying to get the matchups righty-righty, lefty-lefty, and by bringing Robertson back, meant that they could get him out after 2 hitters. If you start the inning with somebody new, that person has to face 3. And if that's the case, then you probably go with Suarez in that exact spot right there because he's a starter and is more adept to getting right-handers out than a bullpen guy would be.
Yeah, and look, I mean, there's 2 things that kind of get overshadowed in all of this. Zach Wheeler goes down, and you say to yourself, okay, do the Phillies still have enough starting pitching depth to compete with teams like the Dodgers and win a postseason series? And when you line up Christopher Sanchez, Jesús Luzardo, Ranger Suarez, you say, yeah, of course they do. One of the dumbest things that I ever said was on this show when Zach Wheeler got hurt and was out for the year. I said, I think that they can withstand this. It killed them in game 1, not because Christopher Sanchez wasn't up to the task, but what happens is if Sanchez is going in game 2, you have Jesús Luzardo in the 7th inning to navigate that situation. A power lefty who can miss bats would have been a tough matchup for lefties or righties in that spot. I mean, he would have been perfect in that scenario, and you don't have him there because you have to go to him tonight. So that's where the Wheeler injury, other than that, yes, Zach Wheeler could have gone 7 or 8 innings possibly, and you would have never been in that situation to begin with. But, man, part of the Phillies' plan for the postseason with this bullpen was we're a little bit thin, but we'll be able to take our surplus of starters and patch the holes. And the way things have played out, between the Wheeler injury, between Andrew Painter never becoming a factor this season, they're short right now in that bullpen. There's no question about it.
Oh, there's no doubt about it because, okay, in that spot right there, they take Sanchez out. What are your options? What are your options if not Robertson? You're putting Kerkering in there with a runner on base, and he's been terrible with inherited runners. So they're really your 2 right-handed options. You're obviously not going to Taijuan Walker in that spot. So it's either Robertson or Kerkering.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And I mean, look, Kerkering threw a nice inning the other night. He's just been so shaky. And certainly he has better stuff than Robertson at this point. He can miss more bats than Robertson at this point. And if you want to just kind of go and roll the dice on upside and ceiling,
right,
maybe you go Kerkering over Robertson. And I know that Robertson has not been super dialed in here down the stretch, but just Kerkering's the entirety of his season, I just don't know how you could look at it and say, yeah, we'll trust him in this spot. And so I don't blame Rob in that sense. But it's quite clear that they are an arm short out there.
Yeah, I mean, then obviously I want to get your thoughts on what's happening tonight because they're going to go with Luzardo. Now, Thompson has spoke before the game, and he has already kind of said they're going to use Suarez in this particular game and then possibly use him to pitch game 3. What's your read on the way this game is going to be, kind of managed tonight?
Yeah, I think that this is going to be ultra aggressive. I was telling my colleague, Anthony Sanfilippo, who covers the Phillies for On Pattison, he's down there all the time. I said, we used to cover these games together back in the day, and we'd be sitting next to one another. And, we get into these postseason matchups, and you say, like, all right, let's get weird, would be the thing I would always say. And I think that tonight you're going to see a couple situations where you go, okay, I guess, let's see it. And I think what you're going to get tonight is a very aggressive Rob Thompson, very short leash for Jesús Luzardo. I think that it's all hands on deck. Would not be surprised if you saw Ranger Suarez, and this kind of does go back to what I said to you last week. Don't be surprised if Aaron Nola starts a game in this series, and it feels like that's very much in play now.
Well, you said that, and I was almost like, you got to be out of your mind, and now it's starting to look like that's the clear picture, is that they know in the back of their mind we can start Aaron Nola if we have to. If that's the case, how come Sanchez wasn't thought about in the game on Saturday night? Is really, if you're so – now, he did say before – well, Nola's never pitched out of the bullpen. Well, he did say today that Nola is available out of the bullpen. And this goes back to, they map this stuff out and plan these things out and say, hey, listen, you're going to go to Robertson in the 6th. You're going to go to Strom in the 7th. You're going to go to this guy in the 8th. And that's the way it is. So at what point do they say Suarez or Nola is the guy?
Yeah, I think so much of it's dictated by game flow and individual matchups, where you're at in the game. And it really, I don't think it's just even about, hey, this guy for the 7th, this guy for the 8th, and so on. I think it really comes down to, does this pitcher's profile match up with this hitter's profile? And if they're in a high leverage spot in the 4th inning of tonight, I think that they're going to do whatever they need to do to survive the inning. And that's what I kind of want to see them do. I don't want to be in a spot tonight where without maybe the exception of Duran in the 9th, I don't know that I would go beyond that and like bring him in the 7th, say, because I want him there for the 9th. If you feel like you're on path to win the game, maybe you bring him in for the 8th to get 4 outs or something like that. Fine. But I think that what they need to do tonight is win the inning ahead of them. Don't worry about, well, if we go for Burke here, then how are we going to navigate the 8th? Like, figure it out when you get to the 8th. And that's what I want to see them do. Don't punt in those middle innings, wishing and hoping and praying to get to the guys that you want to get to when it comes to the 8th and the 9th. So I think that's how they're going to manage the game. You go back to the game in 22 against the Braves. Ranger Suarez one time through the lineup. They took him out. They threw the kitchen sink, everything that they had at the Braves in that game. It was brilliantly managed. And I think that you could see, if Jesús Luzardo is struggling a little bit, I think you could see a similar thing tonight.
Why do they not, or where do they put Banks on their list of importance?
Yeah, I mean, Tanner Banks has done such a great job for this team all season, but it sort of feels like they did not want to utilize him at that point or in any of those situations the other night.
Hold on, Bob. You did something to your mic. You're kind of muffled up a little bit there. Let's see if
do you have me now?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Yeah, I think that what you see, I mean, he's done a great job this season, Tanner Banks, but I think you see that they probably don't want to go to him prior to the I don't think that they want to go to him unless it's the 5th, the 4th or the 5th earlier in the game. I don't think that they want to rely on him to be a key guy late in the game unless they absolutely have to, unless they do exactly what I said, which is you roll through all of your big time guys to navigate sticky situations early, and then maybe you go to him later if they want to go down that road.
So, obviously, we're talking about those decisions, and that's what people like to do. The second-guessing stuff is what makes the sport great. We all think that if they would have done this because we said they should do it, that it would have worked. So any move that they ended up making that we wouldn't have made, our move would have worked, their move did not work. The one move that I would blame more than anything, though, is 1 for 11 and 6 strikeouts at the top of your lineup. And this is second verse, same as the first since 2023, 2024. You just can't win like that. I know you get your 3 runs, but as soon as it was 3-0 and Ohtani started mowing you down and the Phillies flipped to their bullpen, I tweeted it out. This game, they're not winning this game. Ohtani has settled in, and you're in your bullpen. They're going to win this game. The offense just can't get going, and you got $700 million worth of offense, 1 for 11 and 6 strikeouts. That's what we really should have started this conversation with, isn't it?
Yeah, look, I mean, you can and you should win playoff games when you have a 3-run lead, even if you only score 3 runs. Like, if you get to the 6th inning and you have a 3-run lead, you got to find a way to win the game. Much the way that the Eagles yesterday, with a 14-point lead in the 4th quarter, even though the offense only put up 17 points, you have to find a way to win the game. That being said, you're right. I mean, look, the top of the order was atrocious on Saturday night. They were simply terrible. I mean, Kyle Schwarber he killed them on Saturday night. Trey Turner looked like his timing was totally off, going outside the zone on a couple swings. And one game does not a series make. They have an opportunity to get back on track tonight. Hopefully this thing goes 4-5 in their favor. But it was a concerning start. You felt like that those guys were all trying to do too much. And they certainly should bear quite a bit of the blame for what transpired the other night.
Well, and I know like everybody loves Schwarber and all the home runs and everything, and I'm trying to remember back. I'm sure he has. I just can't remember a big Schwarber moment in these playoffs. I can't think of like
he took garbage deep, and I guess it was 22 in the NLCS. It got him going on the road early, but I mean that was also 3 years ago. In fairness, it's been a minute. And look, I think that he's a great leader, certainly really productive, and there'll be a lot of conversations, regardless of what happens in this series and beyond, about what they should do with him in free agency. But they do need more out of him. I mean, they certainly have to. They will not win if Kyle Schwarber does not get going, and if Bryce Harper does not get going, and Trey Turner can't set the table. And in fairness, the Dodgers only had 1 hit from their top 3 guys the other night. It happened to be the hit in the Hernandez home run. But the difference to me is you get a huge, huge hit from Kike Hernandez, right? Like he always gets that
guy,
hit.
man. That guy.
He's not a good hitter anymore. He's just a guy. but he always gets that.
Bobby hit 198. He hit 198 this year.
But he is a guy that time and time again in the postseason rises to the occasion. And the Phillies, you certainly need more out of your big money guys. There's no question about it. But at some point, I'm sure you've talked about it on your show. They're 2-8 in their last 10 postseason games. They're 1-4 in their last 5 games in the postseason at Citizens Bank Park. Like, you're just waiting for someone to have the big hit at a key moment late in the game. And time again, they failed to do it. Whether it was a Mundo Sosa, whether it was Schwarber in the 5th, like you feel like they're due for that key hit in a big spot. And, maybe they get it tonight. And if they don't, they're probably going to get swept.
Well, and listen, the Harrison Bader thing. I mean, obviously, at that moment, you see Castellanos go up. You're saying this is the worst decision you've ever seen. And now you figure out afterwards he ended up, being hurt so much to the fact that he's not in the game tonight. And that just changes the complexion of the game, because you're talking about Kike Hernandez. Bader's been that guy. He's been the second, third-tier guy, bottom of the order, who gets the big hit, who gives you that energy. And now you don't even have him. And you got to throw Brandon Marsh against Blake Snell. Now, Blake Snell's going to have 12 strikeouts tonight. I mean, he's going to dominate this lineup. And, the Bader thing is the one trade you make that seemingly has worked out for you, and now that blows up in your face. I mean, it's the worst-case scenario here.
Yeah, it's not great. I mean, you got Otto Kemp running around left field tonight to start the game, and who knows
with
how
Marsh
long
playing and Marsh playing center and Castellanos playing right.
Yeah, it's an atrocious defensive outfield. I mean, it doesn't get much worse than Kemp, Marsh in center, who I like as a corner outfielder, but certainly not in center. And then Castellanos is Castellanos. They'll probably match up. I would imagine that you will see Weston Wilson at some point in this game. I would imagine you will see Kepler at some point in this game, probably for Kemp in the middle innings if the matchups kind of reveal themselves that way. I mean, it's not great. We spent 5 months talking about this outfield and how thin and how bad it was. And they've gotten stuff out of Kemp here down the stretch. He was much better after he came back up. Marsh obviously was really good the second half. Kepler sort of rebounded a little bit, but I mean, this is a thin outfield. If I said to you, hey, Mike, game 2 of the NLDS, basically a do or die game, and you line up those 3 players, do you think this is a World Series team? My guess is you would say no shot. So
no way. Who would you have started on the mound tonight, Suarez or Luzardo?
I like Luzardo. I think that he is the higher upside guy. He has pitched better at home. I think that you could put Ranger Suarez in the most difficult of environments, and it really doesn't matter. Whereas I think that we've seen Jesús Luzardo be a little bit more of an emotional pitcher. He's a little bit more, he wears his heart on his sleeve. That both good and bad, what he's feeling. So I think if I can get him out of the environment of LA and have him in here, I would probably lean that way. I don't disagree with the way that they've lined up the start.
By the way, somebody texted this in, and thinking back on it now, for hindsight 2020, I probably would have gone to Walker Buehler in that spot. Because he has up and down, he's sat. I know he's not a big bullpen guy, but he has shown that he can come out of the bullpen. You get Muncy, he comes back for the 7th, gets the 8 and 9 hole hitter. You're asking him to get I know their 8 and 9 hole hitters are definitely different than most 8 and 9s, but he gets those 2 righties, and then you go to your lefty in that spot. Buehler probably would have been the guy that I would have leaned on in that spot. Now, somebody just texted that in.
It's all about second guessing. I mean, Buehler's an interesting guy in that spot, but you also went out and got David Robertson and paid him a ton of money right before the deadline to be a guy. And he's a 40-year-old veteran reliever who's been doing this for 17 years and has pitched in numerous big-time postseason games with a degree of success. And so if you get burned with David Robertson on the mound, we're going to sit here and second guess it. But imagine if we were sitting here today, Walker Buehler's in that game in the 7th inning, and we go, Walker Buehler, we didn't even think this guy was going to be on a roster 30 days ago, and now you're turning to him for a key sequence against, holding a 1-run lead in a pivotal game 1. Come on, And so when you look at piggyback situations too,
when you're short, you got to do desperate things.
You do. I mean, look at what the Dodgers did. They were quite resourceful the other night. Everyone keeps talking about this bullpen. Well, guess what? Those 3 guys were. When you go from one to Glasnow to Sasaki, you can see a weak bullpen on Saturday.
I'll tell you what. it's pretty gutsy to go to Sasaki because he was not good in the regular season when he was early in the season before he got hurt. Then he didn't pitch all year. You bring him in to close a playoff game. That's a pretty gutsy decision.
Yeah, and the Phillies offense,
Well, I'll tell you what, the at-bat of the game is Ohtani against Harper, and he throws them 2 100-mile-per-hour fastballs, not on the black, right down the middle, as if, old man, you're not in my league. Yeah. And he blew them right past him, and then he threw whatever pitch he threw. I mean, that thing was nasty. But he threw the 2 fastballs, and Harper was like, I can't believe you just threw me 2 fastballs down the middle. And then he was so confused. He was toying with Harper, and he did it not 1 at-bat, but 2 at-bats for Harper. You got a chance, Harper, to get 2 100-mile-per-hour center-cut fastballs. He did nothing with either one.
Yeah,
that was the moment.
And tonight's a totally different situation with Blake Snell on the mound. He wants you to go outside the zone. He wants you to extend yourself. He wants you to be over anxious, get yourself out. And, the Phillies have all the pressure in the world on them tonight. And will they be able to stay disciplined? Will they be able to be more selective? They did a good job with this at the beginning of the season. And this was the point of emphasis. That's why they talked about it so much, because they got themselves out quite a bit last year against the Mets. Like, can you stay disciplined tonight? And if you can, you have a chance to get to Snell. Snell's a really good arm. He's awesome, but he's not a guy that typically goes deep into games. The Dodgers bullpen should be more exposed tonight in theory. So, that's where you're probably going to win or lose this game.
I'll tell you what, Bob. They have kind of, the last time we saw Snell, they left him out there. That was that wonky moment. And really, their pitchers have gone deeper into games. They have kind of let their starters have a little bit more rope in some of these games now. And, that has been a factor because their bullpen isn't that good. And then if you can get those guys 1 extra inning, and then you have Glass now and Sasaki, as opposed to some of the other guys they had to go to during the regular season, that makes them really, really tough. But no Bader tonight. The lineup is out, and you've got Sosa playing second, no Stott. You've got Kemp playing left. You've got Castellanos in right, so there's no Kepler tonight either. And they decide to go with Kemp over Weston Wilson in left field. So, this is.
I think part of that may be that they probably like Wilson better as a pinch hitter. Like, you figure they're going to have to use Kemp, Kepler, and Wilson tonight, I would imagine. And I think that I think they trust Wilson more in a key spot late in the game than they would reverse with it being Kemp.
All right. It is a Mike and Bob Monday baseball chat, and it's the Phillies down 1-0. And not good mojo or vibes going into Game 2 tonight. You can listen to the game right here on 97.3 ESPN. First pitch at 6:08 when we're done here at the Fanatics Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. All right, Bob. We'll do it again soon.
All right. Talk soon, Mike. Thanks.
There's Mike. There's Bob Wankel. I'm Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. And check him out, of course, on the Fighting Words podcast with Anthony Sanfilippo and Bob Wankel. All right, well, we just broke down a lot there. See what you guys think. 609-403-0973 on the text board, 609-403-0973. This text here says, for Bohm to have 2 walks and JT to have good at-bats Saturday, just think about if one of the top 3 guys gets on base, they could have easily added a few runs. Let's hope they get locked in tonight. Always want homers. All we need is good at-bats and hard contact. That's Matt in Delaware.
Yeah, Teoscar looking like A.J. Brown on that ball. Hits a right field. Just pulled up on it.
That's a good point by you, too, is they gave you the third
they
run.
They did. I mean, he played it like it was a May baseball game.
Yeah. Yep.
And you really thought that was the game. I mean, Red October, fans are into it. 3-0 lead.
Yeah.
And then the bats go quiet, the fans go quiet. So tonight, very important, get off to a hot start.
Yeah.
Get this Red October crowd into it.
Yeah, Bobby and Wildwood, Walker Buehler, not Robertson. I agree with that. I probably would have gone with Walker Buehler in that spot. Look, I didn't love going to Robertson in that spot, but I asked you the question and the people out there. They're not going to bring a left-hander in that spot. So
that takes
your
away
choices were Walker
a
Buehler, David Robertson, and Ryan Kirk, or Aaron Nola, or Taijuan Walker.
Yeah.
That's
not Walker.
Yeah. All right. Well, Eagles, Nick Sirianni coming up. You'll hear what he has to say today. because his team's a mess right now too.
And he's 4-1.
Yeah, it's 4-1. I know, short week.
And you got the Giants coming up twice in the span of 3 weeks?
Yep, and
so
the
you're
Vikings,
in good shape there.
The Vikings in there too.
You got Carson Wentz coming up, maybe. JJ McCarthy.
Which losses made your Monday worse? Phillies or Eagles? Vote at Mike Gill Show. More Sports Bash coming up. Live at the Fanatics Sportsbook, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. By the way, Mike McGarry tonight at 5:30 from Citizens Bank Park. We'll get an update from him. Also, this hour brought to you by Broadlee's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Broadlee's, your trusted source for heating, plumbing, service, and installation for generations. 609-390-3907. Visit online, broadlees.net. So Nick Sirianni is talking right now, but we do have a ton of text messages. Josh, do we just want to fire off a bunch of text messages here? We got a lot of people tuning in and getting their frustrations out. Should we let them vent?
It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill. You tell me, Mike.
Well, you're in charge back there. I mean, I'm just.
I mean, if it was my vote, I would go with the text messages. I don't know what Sirianni's going to say.
I can tell you what he has said right now. He updated Landon Dickerson so far. He said there's no update on Dickerson, and that's basically one of the big key things is Dickerson left the game yesterday, and it's a big problem. We'll keep it here. We'll do the text messages. I mean, we have probably over 100 text messages that have come in so far, so let's try to get as many as we can. We will try to get to as many text messages as we can. Eagles, Phillies, why don't we try to flip back and forth here?
Well,
because it is tough. I mean, I'm looking at the poll question. What's got you in a worse mood? And it's 56-43 right now. So I mean, it's like 50-50 almost that people are distraught about this. I mean, you enter the weekend. It's a Phillies and Eagles weekend. Now, I said on Friday that the Dodgers would win. So I wasn't surprised, but they go up 3-0. I got Christopher Sanchez pitching. The one problem I have is, and I thought Bob brought up a great point, is the fact that Sanchez is awesome, okay? He's very good. But Zach Wheeler, does he get you into the 8th inning in that game?
Absolutely.
And there's your difference. That Sanchez, who's awesome, I'm not sitting here blaming Sanchez, but he's up to 94 pitches in the 6th. And if JT Realmuto is saying that he was starting to tire, that's a little bit of an issue. You can't have your top guy, he can't get through 6 innings because he's starting to tire. I mean, that comment bothers me a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And listen, I would just say really quick, guys, I don't think the problem to me was taking Sanchez out. The problem was the cascading events after that.
I don't think again, I understand there's like if you want to say Thompson was like some like he foresaw, hey, we have Ohtani 4 at-batters from now. Okay? And this is what you need to do. You need to know who's up and what time. And if you're saying, I don't want Ohtani facing a right-handed pitcher, then that's the time to get him out of the game, Sanchez, because you bring in the relief pitcher to finish the inning and then start the next inning and get the first 2 outs, and therefore you can then take him out of the game. If you brought in a pitcher to start the 7th, then that pitcher who started the inning would have to face Ohtani.
Right.
And they just simply did not want Ohtani, who was struggling against a lefty. They did not want him to face a right-handed pitcher. So you could have done what Bob did and said, just start the inning with Strahm. Well, now Pages and Will Smith both get a chance to swing against a left-handed pitcher. And the problem with that is those two guys, Pages had like 30 home runs this year. So, he's not some schlep rock hitting in the 8-hole.
Right.
And Will Smith, by the way, as Bob Wankel pointed out as well, he was their cleanup hitter for most of the year. The only reason he's not hitting there anymore and he's hitting 9th is because he's been hurt. He's been banged up.
Right, he just came back from that broken hand.
Exactly. So he's hitting in the 9-hole, not because he's a 9-hole hitter, it's because he's been hurt all year long. So they have an unconventional, strength at the back end of their lineup right now. Pages was hitting 5th the other night, by the way, for them. Now he's hitting 8th last Saturday night. So their lineup is really deep. You can question, okay, why Robertson was the guy. So I agree that taking Sanchez out in that spot, but my point is more this. If I have a dominant starting pitcher, I want that guy in the game. I don't want to go to my bullpen because I have the best guy. And the fact that they took him out of that game, he's at 94 pitches, and that JT says he was starting to tire, that's concerning in terms of, if your best guy's tiring at 94 pitches in the 6th inning.
So are you saying this might be an example of paralysis by overanalysis, that like the Phillies, they were just overanalyzing the situation. They were letting the overthinking going on in the brain, and that's part of the reason why they didn't just tell Sanchez, hey, Christopher, you're having a great start. I know you're a little tired, but I need you to win this game for us, buddy.
I don't know.
I mean, that 6th inning, he did that walk you mentioned to Freeman.
The walk did him in. And
that
then
was the red flag, right?
You get the walk. Okay, I walk Freeman. Now that's a lefty-on-lefty matchup. And he walks that guy. Okay, Freeman, he's dangerous. You got Edman up next.
And he walked him on 5 pitches, right? It wasn't a close full count. It was 5-pitch walk.
He gives up a single to Edman. That's what I think did him in. You can't get Edman out at that spot. And then, of course, Hernandez comes up.
Right.
And that freaking Kiki Hernandez is the biggest pain in the ass there is.
Couple of texts to get to here on the text board, Mike, at 609-403-0973. Matt from Delaware says, for Bohm to have 2 walks and JT to have good at-bats on Saturday, just think about it, the top 3 could actually get on base. That would make things a lot easier to add a few runs. Let's hope they lock in tonight. They always want homers when all we need is good at-bats, says Matt in Delaware.
Yeah, I read that one off right in the last break there. You had the guys, the Bohms and the JTs, they did their job. And if they had a guy on base in front of them, you probably could have tacked on a couple more runs. There's no question that the top 3 guys need to be on base.
And if Schwarber's not hitting a home run, is he producing? It's tough. Sure, he can rip a double.
Well, he'll walk and get on base. But
for that lineup to truly produce, those 2 guys, Schwarber and Harper, they have to go deep.
Terry in Galloway says, my Little League team has a better defensive outfield than the Phillies tonight.
Yeah, that's probably not wrong. The team that I coached that won the World Series, we used to call our outfield the no-fly zone. Like any ball hitting the outfield in the air, that was an out. Like our guys were so good. They just did not misplay, nothing. Tonight, no, that is certainly not a no-fly zone.
You don't have much faith in Otto Kemp throwing out a runner at home plate in a do-or-die game, too?
No!
You said throwing him out. I'm just thinking about catching a fly ball, a routine fly.
Smitty from Smithville says, my vote on your poll, Mike, is the Phillies. Their season is coming to an end. The Eagles will respond. I'm not worried about them, says Smitty in Smithville.
I agree on the Phillies. I think the Phillies get swept. That's just my opinion, and I thought that on Friday.
Well, if that happens, this is going to be a long offseason for
It'll be
a lot
exciting.
of guys.
It'll be an exciting offseason.
Oh, you think it's going to be a silly offseason?
You can't bring the same team back.
No,
you can't
absolutely
do it.
not.
You can't do it. But I don't want to get there yet. I would be less surprised if the Phillies got swept. And he might be right about the Eagles. They could have just said, look, you're not going to play your best every single week, but this has been a trend of just not playing well.
Well, let me ask you this, Mike. This was one of my notes I had for today that I didn't get a chance to talk to you about before the show, but is maybe losing on Sunday a good thing for the Eagles?
I tweeted that out.
Could this be something that could be like, hey, sometimes you need to get knocked on your rear end to realize that you had a bad game plan?
I tweeted that out. I said, big picture, they're probably better off that they lost this game. Because now they can look at it and say, see, we threw the ball 38 times. That's not our recipe.
And
we
now
tried throwing the ball 38 times and we lost.
And now you have a few problems that you have to stare right in the face, right?
Well, more than a few.
But there's a couple glaring ones.
True. There are a couple glaring ones, but obviously with Dickerson potentially out for Thursday night, you can't fix all of them, one of them being the O-line.
The offensive line, and I've been saying this for a couple of weeks now, is definitely a major issue with the offense. And if you're the offensive coordinator and you don't have the full playbook at your disposal because you can't run certain stuff because your line's breaking down, that's a problem. We see it with teams all the time that have good skill players, and you're like, oh, my God, how come Minnesota stinks in the years past? You got Justin Jefferson. You've got who was the running back they had there for all those years?
Not Jones. He's on there now.
Dalvin Cook.
Yeah. You had, all these weapons, Adam Thielen. You're like, how come they stink? Well, their line stunk. When you have a bad offensive line, it doesn't matter how good your skill position players are. Now, that being said, the Eagles still have Mailata, who I thought he had a bad game yesterday, Mailata, to be honest with you. I thought he got beat a lot. I thought he had a rough day. But generally, he's pretty good. Lane Johnson, generally pretty good, but he's been in and out of games this year. Landon Dickerson, has not been himself. And then he left yesterday's game. I think he only played 10 snaps. Their line is not the same as it's been.
Toth had the bad holding penalty. Or was that Toth who had the bad holding penalty? Yeah.
Remember, he's the one who came in for Dickerson because the Eagles keep telling us how much faith they have in Brett Toth. How many times has everyone who covers the Eagles has told us here on 97.3, Mike, right? Everyone from Kaplan to McMullen to everyone has told us the Eagles really believe in Brett Toth. Well, you let you down on Sunday.
Well, their offensive line is a problem. It's not the same offensive line, and that is a big problem with their offense right now. What else we got?
Chris in Delaware says, guys, this is deja vu. Game 1 of the NLDS, and Strom gives up big runs, just like last year.
Everything's deja vu with the fact that they scored. You were up 1-0 in the Wheeler game. Schwarber hit the home run to start that game off, and Wheeler pitches his ass off, and the bullpen blows it for you.
That's what you need tonight. Can we get a Schwarber in the bottom of the first inning to get that crowd in the game?
It hasn't. They're up 3-0. The crowd wasn't up into the game when you're up 3-0.
That's the hot start, right? I mean, if they go down in this game, it's going to be tough to come back.
Oh, if you early in that game, Luzardo gives up a home run or something early in that game, and you're down. Yes, the tension in that place is going to be unbearable. And like you think about it, this team has not played well at home in the playoffs. And you wonder if there's just so much pressure on them here. This group of guys knows it, that this place is like combusting, ready to burst every time they do something wrong. And then they can't,
Guys, UPS Geoff says the Phillies never got into the Dodgers bullpen. The Dodgers just brought out starters instead.
The Dodgers did what I think, we talked about it with Bob. The Dodgers did what I think the Phillies probably should have done. They went with their best available starters. They said, Glasnow and Sasaki, we're going to line you up. The Phillies, really, and this is what Bob talked about. If Zach Wheeler's pitching that game, you have Sanchez pitching tonight. You could have Suarez pitching game 3. You could have gone to Luzardo in that spot in the 6th and 7th inning. He's the lefty that could have faced Ohtani. But they have the extra starting depth right now that you don't. And he brought up Andrew Painter. The fact that Painter was never able to help the team out this year. What if he was that right-handed power pitcher that could have pitched in the 8th inning or something to that effect, or even came in that 6th inning right there? But you never got a chance to even look at him.
And Alvarado, I know he's a lefty, but you couldn't count on him this playoff run.
Mike, why do you think that they have been so intent on not doing the Luzardo coming out of the bullpen idea? Because I feel like they never considered it.
They need him to start. And that's what Bob said. He said if Wheeler would have pitched game 1, if he's healthy, he throws 1, Sanchez throws 2, then you can use Suarez in game 3, and then you have Luzardo as that guy who was basically what Glasnow was for them.
But, for example, you could have – when Rob Thompson spoke to the media on Saturday, he could have said, we're starting Ranger Suarez in game 2, Luzardo's available out of the bullpen.
I think, and Bob brought this up, I think they just feel that Luzardo's better suited to pitch at home.
All right.
And listen, Nola not being Nola has really thrown a wrench into all this. And they're trying to hey, Nola's still involved here. If this was a regular Nola year, he'd be pitching tonight. Right?
Yeah, back in April, May, those were your two aces, Wheeler and Nola.
Last year he threw game 3 because Sanchez
in New York.
Right.
Last year, yeah.
Yeah. So
he got blown up that game.
You would know he's pitching on Wednesday night. But now you don't know because I don't know if internally they're still I don't know what to do with Nola. Tough spot to be in right now. Tough spot to be in. Who's that, Glasnow?
Talking? Yeah.
An inning and 2/3 for Glasnow, 2 strikeouts in the game. That would have been nice to have a guy out of the bullpen. An ace starter who's got World Series experience. Tyler Glasnow just coming out of the bullpen in the 7th.
You have Walker Buehler in your bullpen.
Yeah, I mentioned that earlier. I think in hindsight, and shout out to whoever texted that in, Robbie in Wildwood. I wasn't even thinking of Buehler. In that 6th inning spot, I probably would have gone to Walker Buehler. That's what they did. They went with their best available starting pitcher and brought him in the bullpen. I think that the Phillies possibly, Now, as Bob
That would have
Wankel
been
said,
some high drama.
Exactly.
Pitching against his
former
his
team.
former
That
team.
he just won the World Series 4 a year ago.
Yeah.
Would have liked to have seen it. But as Bob Wankel said, you bring in Walker Buehler in that spot and he blows up, you get crucified. You bring in David Robertson, the guy that the front office paid all the money to pitch in that spot, probably goes over a little bit better. Game 2 tonight in Philly, 6:08, first pitch. You going to get home in time?
Well, I think we should maybe grab a beverage here, maybe watch the first couple innings.
I would imagine.
I mean,
this
it's right
place
there. It's
at
literally
the
10
Fanatics.
feet from you.
I think the Fanatics Sportsbook's going to be rocking here very shortly. The unsportsmanlike moment of the day is coming up next.
The Eagles have no run game to speak of. Let's not pretend that they haven't tried to get Saquon Barkley involved. He's got 100 touches this season and has yet to crack 90 yards rushing in any game. That's a problem. And I think I have to pin most of it on the offensive line not being quite right. The absence of Mekhi Becton has been glaring. Lane Johnson has been banged up. They haven't been whole. They haven't been right. So I can understand why they would be a little bit uneven. But even that being said, they've got to find a way to get Saquon Barkley more involved. You saw them utilize him in the passing game, getting that explosive play, 50 yards for a touchdown yesterday. But it's got to be more of that.
Chris Candy on Sportsmanlike. It's our Unsportsmanlike moment of the day, brought to you by Whitehorse RV Center. Find fall closeout savings on 2025s and select pre-owned RV. Shop now before they're gone at Whitehorse RV. Your RV adventure starts here. Well done, Canty. You're right. I mean, this team won a Super Bowl last year because you had a guy go for over 2,000 yards. And you got over 2,000 yards because you gave him the touches. The problem you're having right now, as Canty pointed out, their offensive line is a problem. They cannot run what they ran last year because they cannot block the way that they blocked last year. And until that changes, you're putting the ball into Jalen Hurts' hands. And right now, this passing game is not up for the challenge. They are not up for the challenge. And the question is, everybody bemoans all offseason about these lists that don't put Jalen Hurts at the top of them. And I say every year, I don't care about these lists. And he's showing that if I have to put the ball in my hands, can I win the game for you? Yesterday, the answer was no, I cannot. Now, he did it in the Super Bowl. He's done it in big moments. But if teams are now going to ask you to do it every single week.
He's too hot and cold for that.
Can he get it done? Can he get it done? The onus is now going to be on Jalen Hurts because teams are saying, you cannot beat us by giving the ball to Saquon Barkley like you did last year. We're just not going to let you. That's our Unsportsmanlike moment of the day. Listen every morning, 6 to 10 a.m. on Sportsmanlike on 97.3 ESPN. Our Unsportsmanlike moment of the day is brought to you by Whitehorse RV Center. Find fall closeout savings on 2025s and select pre-owned RVs. Shop now before they're gone at Whitehorse RV. Your RV adventure starts here. When we come back, Jeff Mosher, football at 4. Next.
write 12 statements.
Sucks.
And they were the longest ones. Like, why did I have to choose the longest ones to get wrong?
Can you turn my fan on for me, please? Thank you so much.
So is the dinner laying on the counter?
It's on the stove. You just have to take it out of the pot, both the lima beans and the mac and cheese.
Okay.
See ya.
.3 ESPN presents The Sports Bash with Mike Gill. It's time for Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast.
Just hungry to bring back another Lombardi to Philly. It's the fans deserve it. Our team deserves it. Culture begs for it.
Now live, this is Football at 4.
Still can get a lot better. We shot ourselves in the foot a lot. Left a couple plays out there we wasn't on the same page, but ultimately, we got to get on the same page and continue to be on the same page.
Devontae Smith said that we need to be on the same page. He wasn't the only one that said it. Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast and brought to you by the Fanatic Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. The place to be this football season is Ocean Casino. The place to be tonight for Phillies and Dodgers, game number 2. You can listen to the game here on 97.3 ESPN. Let's bring in Jeff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast and, of course, Philly voice who covers the Eagles. He is with us right now for today's edition of Football at 4. And so many places we can start, Jeff Mosher. It's a 17-3 game in the fourth quarter. That's a game-set match last year for this team, right? That game is over. Why can they not finish that game out?
Oh, man, that's a good – why couldn't they finish the game out? Well, because they didn't have the killer instinct. They couldn't hit on – obviously, not hitting on that deep one to A.J. Brown – that's been much discussed, which really could have put some distance on the scoreboard and changed the way the Broncos had to play offensively, would have helped them, but they have not. To me, it goes back to, again, they're not running the ball the same way they did last year, and this time they really didn't seem to want to try to run the ball. So you can say it's not a lack for want of killer instinct. It was a lack of execution of killer instinct.
Right. Well, let's look at that because they ran the ball decent. You had 6 carries for 30 yards. That's 5 yards a carry right there. That's pretty good for Saquon Barkley. Now, you had the one big run that obviously kind of propelled everything there. So that clouds the thing there. But they just got away from it. They didn't do it at all. Is this they thought that the way to beat Denver was through the air? Did they acquiesce to A.J. Brown and everything that happened last week? You're up 17-3, perfect opportunity to use your weapon that, by the way, you gave a contract extension to in Saquon Barkley. Mm-hmm. What happened?
Probably became a victim of their own success a little bit. Jalen Hurts was 13 of 19 in the first half, 138 yards, put a touchdown on the board. Then they came out in the third quarter and got the second touchdown. So they were throwing the ball well, decently well. They've always been, as we know, a hot and cold offense, but they were running their RPO game, their pop pass game, getting the one-on-ones. And for the most part, they were able to connect on them. And I think that they just, maybe haunted by some games of the past, wanted to make sure that they didn't just start running the ball conservatively. Remember, we criticized them in the games where they were blowing leads for just running on every first down, and they probably felt that they had some matchups that they could take advantage of. And that is, I think some of that is true, and I think some of it's true that the Broncos played a variety of defenses, Mike. And listen, I'm not beating my tooting my own horn here. I picked the Broncos to win the game because I felt that they could do one thing that a lot of teams can't do, which is they could rush Jalen Hurts in a way that would keep him in the pocket. They're very good at that. I did a whole story about that on Philly Voice last week. I talked to you about it. They know what they're doing on how to rush passers who are mobile quarterbacks. And in the third quarter specifically, they did a couple of things with spy defenders and just keeping Jalen inside and making it tough for him to find lanes and receivers.
Jeff Mosher, Football at 4 from the Inside the Birds podcast and Philly Voice. He's got a lot of observations on this game. We played the audio from Devontae Smith saying that we're not on the same page. He wasn't the only one that said that, though. Dallas Goedert and everybody else seemingly had some way of saying we're not on the same page. What does that mean to you?
Well, I don't think they've really been on the same page a whole lot. It's just that the quotes always sound different after a loss than a win. There has been times after a win this year and in years past where the players have told you that they need to get better and get on the same page and do things. But then that's usually, but hey, we won, we did this, we did that. And because they lost, it becomes more magnified. Same page is a difficult thing for me, Mike. It's the same offense, the same receivers. Obviously, it's a new play caller, but he's calling the same kind of plays that they've been doing the last few years. So what is it? I don't know what it tells you overall when every year there's a couple of games where the offensive players say that they're not on the same page. I think it tells you a lot about just what they are offensively in general.
Right. I mean, and it's funny that you hear we're not on the same page and that yesterday you see a game where you throw the ball 38 times. Devontae Smith has maybe his best game of the season. The receivers both got a ton of targets in the game. So if they throw the ball 38 times, you did try to get your two best weapons, your two wide receiving weapons involved in the game. Is it concerning that you only end up with 17 points with this level of talent and you can't figure out a way to get more scoring in the second half of the game when you featured those two guys? By the way, Smith had 10 targets. He had 8 catches. Brown had 8 targets. He had 5 catches.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Today is the continuation of the Kevin Patullo is the village idiot OC day, according to, social media and angry fans. But Jalen Hurts had his most passing yards, his most efficient passing game for the most part of the year. It's just that it just hasn't been very efficient or crisp. So I don't know what the resolution is. I think they obviously played a very good defense. The Broncos, we talked about this last week, are really, really good. And this exact same kind of plan and effort against a different team may have yielded more results, but we also can't bury our heads in this. I mean, it's been 5 weeks now that the Eagles offense has not played a full game, a full quarter, or a full 4-quarter game. And I'm sure that that's very frustrating for them.
You wrote over at Philly Voice, sometimes it's good to be conservative. We've had a lot of people wondering, are they too conservative? You got to open this thing up. We're talking about the amount of passes. What do you mean by sometimes it's good to be conservative? Because it seemed that Denver was saying, be conservative. We'll let you.
Yeah, no, that was the whole paragraph was sort of tongue in cheek. It was about the 2 times against the Rams that they ran the ball on 3rd and 15, and everybody was very upset. They were backed up in their own end zone, and they just handed off to Saquon on 3rd and 15. One was 3rd and 15, one was 3rd and 18, and they got nothing from it. But they faced the exact same scenario against the Broncos, who I'm sure thought, by the defense especially that they played, that the Eagles were just going to sit there and hand the ball off to Saquon Barkley.
Right.
And instead, they get Jalen Hurts going deep to Devontae Smith for 52 yards, the biggest play in the game. So I think part of that is, yes, you were conservative and it hurt you in one game, but it helped you set up a play for down the road or a philosophy that your opponent didn't expect for down the road.
Yeah, I would, contend, too, that you have a 17-3 lead. It's okay to be conservative. If that's what you ran the clock out last year in that game. In the fourth quarter, 17-3, that game was over, right? Well, that game was over.
I don't call that conservative because for what you just said. Last year, the Eagles' second half running game was the most prolific offense in all of football, whether it's offense, rushing, deep, passing, because Saquon Barkley had about some crazy 65% of his rushing yards were in the second half last year. So that's a weapon.
Yeah.
So I don't think that at 17-3 is certainly not enough in the third quarter to start saying we've won the game, let's run the ball. But when you have Saquon Barkley and you have the ability to hit some home runs, it seemed a little strange that he didn't get a carry from midway through the first quarter until early in the fourth quarter. And there were a lot of 3-and-outs in between there.
Your read on some of the shots they took down the field. Everyone's talking about the A.J. Brown. It looks like he stopped. Did he stop because he couldn't see the ball, he couldn't track it? Did he just give up on the play? There's that play. There's the Goddard play. I mean, he had some throws to be made that were not on the mark. And these are throws that where you're saying, man, in the NFL, you got that much separation, you got to connect.
You do. There were a couple of different plays that were left out on the field. And honestly, I thought one of the two didn't really hurt them in the grand scheme, but Jalen Hurts taking 2 sacks on his own by running out of bounds behind the sticks when he could have just thrown the ball out of bounds because receivers were there in the vicinity seems silly, for a quarterback who's been doing this as long as he's been doing it. But to answer your question directly, it says that the Eagles are a shot play offense. I mean, Jalen Hurts had, I think, close to 50% of all of his passing yards on 3 plays. The 52-yarder we just talked about, the 47-yarder to Saquon Barkley on the wheel route, and then he had one to Dotson for 24 yards. Outside of that, and you could say this for every single game so far, they just don't have a marriage between their intermediary passing game, their run game, and their deep game. Greg Cosell said on Inside the Tape last week on Inside the Birds that it's hard to understand, I'm quoting him directly, hard to understand what the Eagles are trying to accomplish offensively. And what he meant was, and we talked about this sequencing, running a play on first down to set up second down and second down to set up third down, where you're marrying your run, you're marrying your intermediate pass, then your deep shot. Right now, it seems like the Eagles' offense is take the deep shot when you can get it, I hope you can get it, and then everything else is sort of okay. Like they had a nice RPO game against the Broncos for about a half of football, and then it went away. So I don't know what the Eagles' offense really is right now.
Yeah.
But I would say I've probably said that in the past about this offense too.
Well, right. It seems that they don't have an identity much on offense, and part of that is because their offensive line, too. They're not as good as a running team right now, right?
Well, I mean, you've got I read a quote from Jeff McClain. I believe he caught up with Cam Jurgens after the game, and Cam said to him that he's just not 100% back yet from his back surgery. He's not hurt or injured, but you have a back surgery. It takes some time to get yourself in the right conditioning. Landon Dickerson, we know he's clearly been dealing with a lot of injuries. And then obviously Lane Johnson's been in and out. So yeah, they're not the same as last year for sure. That doesn't mean there aren't some lanes. Barkley getting caught from behind by Jonathan Cooper again shows you how good and fast and fearsome that Broncos defense is.
No, they're definitely, that's a good deal. And Hurts took 6 sacks yesterday, and I feel like there are plays to be made instead of taking the sack, just a quick dump off, a quick little safety valve. It looked like there were multiple opportunities just to say, hey, Shipley, there you go, boom, and just get it out.
Well, one of Hurts's weaker points is, and this goes back to how the Broncos rush the quarterback that I was telling you about, is that when the pocket starts to form that circular around him and takes away the running lanes, because the pass rushers don't go inside the tackle, they stay outside. I don't think he sees it all there. He holds on to it and doesn't seize it, and he's very willing to take the sack, as he did, and not turn the ball over. And guess what? He didn't turn the ball over on any of those 4 actual sacks. The other 2 were just him running out of bounds. So that's normally a key to success for the Eagles. It just, in this game in particular, against a good team, it's not. But I would tell you that we've seen that time and time again against other teams, but the Eagles have won that game because they've just been able to outscore their opponent.
What do you make of where they are? First month of the season, it's kind of preseason. You're just trying to are you worried about Kevin Petula and his role in this offense? I mean, you see him and Jalen kind of getting at it on the sideline. You see guys all throughout the season seemingly we're not on the same page. Guys don't look happy. Body language looks poor. Are you worried that they made a mistake with bringing in an inexperienced play caller with this group of guys that won a world championship, and that they needed someone with a little bit more chutzpah, and experience?
I mean, it's a double-edged sword, Mike. I feel like that's going to be the conversation every single time they don't win a Super Bowl. And I'm not saying, listen, they may win the Super Bowl this year. I'm not trying to say that. But whenever things don't look right, somebody's got to get fired because they're not equipped for the job. And I think if you remember last year when they were 2-2 and Vic Fangio's defense was getting shredded, everybody was like, what's wrong with this guy? What is he doing putting Avonte Maddox out there? How come they can't rush the passer? Nolan Smith has no, you know what I'm saying? We don't give it time and we don't allow it to manifest. So no, I'm not worried because it's the same offense they've been running for the last 3 or 4 years. Different play caller, and maybe he needs to sequence his calls better. But I'll be worried in week 14 if they're like only 2 games over 500. They're 4-1.
This will be an odd question.
Oh God.
Do you know Mark Sanchez at all?
I've met Mark Sanchez a couple of times when he was an Eagles quarterback and some other places. And
I mean, is this story bizarre, not surprising, or this is nuts?
I don't see how it could not be bizarre. It's absolutely bizarre.
Well, I guess I asked that question of like when you covered him and you see this story, are you like, well, I can kind of see that happening?
When he came to the Eagles, obviously he was known as the Jets for kind of doing some screwy things and everything like that. But when he came to the Eagles, I found him to be a fairly humble guy, easy to talk to, not like into the whole party. But, this is 10 years later? I mean, you never know. You're in a city. We all know that when you travel for business, you drink a little bit when you can, especially if you got money like Mark Sanchez. So I'm not excusing what he did. I'm just saying, surprise, not surprise.
The stuff that just keeps coming out, at first it was like, oh, you feel bad for him, hope he's okay, to the point where now, it looks like he's going to serve some major jail time here.
It does appear that way. So I guess we'll see what happens. It is
All right,
about
Jeff
as bizarre as it can be.
I know you got to run, man. Check out Philly Voice for his take on the Eagles' loss. And, of course, every day right here we have Football at 4 powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Check out the Inside the Birds podcast wrapping up the Eagles' loss to Denver. You'll get plenty more on what we just talked about. Thanks, man.
You got it, Mike. See you.
And, of course, Football at 4 powered by the Inside the Birds podcast is brought to you by the Fanatic Sportsbook. All right, let's power through some more text messages. I know we said we would do some text last hour. I think I got through one.
Well, Mark Sanchez, he was both the victim and the perpetrator in that incident, which is very odd.
Yeah. He got stabbed.
He got stabbed. The aggressor, I guess.
Yeah, so I'm actually working on I'm trying to work on an article about this. So
and now the lawsuit has been filed against Fox and Sanchez.
Yeah, so the latest thing.
Huh?
Oh, Fox Broadcasting.
Fox Broadcasting.
Wait, well, they're getting sued?
I guess they're named in the
They're
lawsuit.
named in the lawsuit, yeah.
Why?
I'm still working on the pieces, but apparently the latest thing is that they're claiming that Sanchez might not have been in that place at that time for that situation to happen if Fox didn't assign him to that game.
Oh, that's frivolous.
Well, lawyers. Andrew Brain always talks about it. There will be lawyers. They're going to get their blood out of the stove. Come on, Mike.
Well, I'm just saying, that's thrown out. He happened to be in, what game was he supposed to do?
The Colts game.
Indy and...
So this would not have happened had Fox not scheduled him for the game. Get the hell out of here with that.
I didn't say it was a good reason. I just said it was a reason.
No, that's frivolous.
What's not frivolous are these texts at 609-403-0973. Reed in Wildwood has an idea, Mike. Reed says, if you're up 2 again in the 7th or 8th innings, do you just bring in Duran?
8th inning, yes. 8th inning, yeah. I bring him in for a 6-out save, no doubt.
Not the 7th inning.
What?
Not the
Probably
7th.
not the 7th. But what I think you have to consider, though, is, and this is where not having Wheeler is, like tonight, using Suarez in a big-time situation. And then, you do have a day off tomorrow, so depending on how many pitches Suarez throws, could he come back and start the game on Wednesday? But if not, you just have to be okay with starting Aaron Nola on Wednesday. You just have to.
Scary.
You have to get this game tonight through hell or high water, regardless of the method that you get there.
Well, that's
so
what
that means you're throwing Suarez in the 7th and then Duran in the 8th and the 9th. The problem becomes when you go out to L.A. in Game 3, you don't have Duran available most likely if he has a 6-out save.
That's why in these best-of-5 series, man, it's do or die so early on. Look at the Yankees.
Yeah.
They were feeling good about themselves, getting rid of the Red Sox, and now all of a sudden they're down 2-0.
I hate that this is a best-of-5. I feel like these should be best-of-7s.
Listen, I said it on my show on Saturday. I think Walker Buehler should be starting Game 3 in L.A. That's what I would do. But Thompson has said he doesn't want to do that. So,
well, he doesn't want to slight Nola.
Why are we worried about people's feelings here? We're trying to win a World Series.
I get it. I'm just saying. That's the way it is. I mean, that's life, man. You earn a microcosm of respect, and
a microcosm of respect. They're going to win you a championship.
Well, Walker Buehler is. I mean,
he's a champion.
He is a champion. He also got released because he wasn't very good.
I don't
by a playoff team, by the way.
A playoff team that got knocked out.
It doesn't matter. They went to the playoffs.
They could have used him.
If you have any microcosm of pitching, you don't just get rid of the guy because, if you think the guy's going to help you win a World Series, you're a playoff team. You don't just get rid of a guy. They got rid of him.
Are you not throwing Buehler because he's facing the Dodgers and maybe they know
that would
him?
be even more reason why I would throw him.
No, that's
okay.
Hold on, let me play the
the
audio
other way?
because Rob Thompson explained the Walker Buehler thing on Saturday. Give me one hot second because I played this audio on Hanging with Hennig on Saturday because it was interesting because Thompson was overtly asked, what is Buehler's role on this team? Like what is his role in the postseason? And this is what Rob Thompson said on Saturday.
He's given some information to our pitching coaches, and he's a winner. It's like having wheels around. He's a winner. He has that aura about him. We're going to use him out of the pen in this series, whether it's for length or for one inning. That's to be seen. But he's a great teammate. He's in the middle of everything in that clubhouse, and he's a good guy to have around, and he's got a lot of talent.
Well, that was a lot of talking around the. He's going to be used in the bullpen for length or
inning doesn't. But he never said at any point he's going to start him.
Well, he said that in a while back that Nola's never pitched out of the bullpen.
Right, but yet Nola was available game 1 and game 2. They need him. So
he did say that as well, and I would imagine that again he probably was at that time still trying to stay pretty loyal to Nola of that, hey, you're still in contention as long as you pitch well, and you know what I mean? Like, I still feel like the organization, look, you're Dave Dombrowski. You made the decision to pay him 7 years, $150. Is that what it was?
I'll pull it up exactly, but something like that.
It's a
huge
lot
number
of money and a lot of years.
So I'm the general manager who decided to pay him a 7-year, $150 million contract. I think that's what it is.
7 years, 172.
Okay, even more than I said. 7-year, $172 million contract. You're the GM that signed that deal. You probably would like to see the fruits of that labor pitching in one of these games.
In game 2, yeah.
Just saying.
Let's get a couple more texts in here, guys. LJ from Millville says, the Phillies need to win this game, too, and go by their motto, whatever it takes. If not, wrap this series up. The Eagles' struggles, by the way, are wild to me. You have a play caller with no experience controlling a juggernaut. It's like handing an 18-year-old kid a Ferrari. He'll get it going, but an accident is waiting to happen, says LJ in Millville.
Speaking of LJ, my girlfriend's son, LJ, got his driver's license today. He's driving a Lamborghini or Porsche. I'd stay off the road. Josh, by the way, thanks to him, we had to use Josh's car for the test today because the DMV or the driving test, you have to have an emergency brake.
This is one of the stupidest rules. This still perplexes me.
I don't have an emergency brake on my car. My girlfriend doesn't have one on her car. And his father or stepmother don't have emergency brakes on their car. So we had to get Josh to let us borrow his car so that he could take the test. What do you do if you can't get a car with an emergency?
Why doesn't the DMV have their own car? Why don't they be like, this is the designated vehicle that you do the test drive in?
Well,
you'd have to have about 100 of those.
Yeah, at every single DMV.
Okay, so?
Well, listen.
The government repos cars all the time.
By the way, the driving test took 5 minutes on a road that's not even a real road.
Right, it's not even a real road.
Like, you don't need to have a oh-crap brake anymore.
Or maybe you just need to have a bleep car. How about that?
Well, listen, if you're in that role where you're signing up to have an unlicensed driver be taking the test, I'm sorry. Like, the technology is now saying that brake is outdated.
Yeah.
You have one on your car?
Yes.
You do? Parking brake?
Subaru, yeah.
Now,
Shout out
is it a real parking brake, or is it one of the one like I have, like a little button?
Yeah, Josh is like a Scrabble button. You just hit the button.
The button is so tiny.
Yeah, I don't have one on my car. I do not have a emergency brake in the middle console of my car. How many people out there still have that? And the fact that like, what would you do if you did not know? So like Josh said, Josh, it's going to be a weird question, but do you have an emergency brake in your car? He's like, yeah, why? I said, well, I need to borrow your car.
No. What happened was
he drove to my house last night and gave me his car.
Mike asked me, and I didn't get back to him immediately because I didn't even know if I had it in my car. I had to look in my car to be like, does this thing even in my car? I've never seen it. And I looked around, and I see this tiny little button the size of a Scrabble piece, and I'm like, is that it? And I tested it out. Okay, I do have a parking brake.
I mean, you would think all cars still have it.
They
right?
don't.
I mean,
no,
self-driving.
I just told you.
I know, but
we asked. Well, between me, my girlfriend, and then his dad and his stepmom, we have 5 cars because he has a car to drive. So he has a car already, so we have 5 cars, and none of them have the emergency brake.
And you need to have that in order to
take
get
the
your
test.
license.
You got to take it. I had to ask Josh to borrow his car. Like, what if you didn't have one? You just don't get your license?
Well, what if you're driving? Can you take like a self-driving car to the driver's test and use a backup camera and all that
No, you
stuff?
can't.
Is that allowed?
The test was 5 minutes, by the way. 5. You feel like, okay, there's 2 things here. 1, after 5 minutes, do we feel that this guy is really capable of driving? Are we all safe with that? And 2, are we really making you have an emergency brake or you can't take the test? What are we doing? You're putting an unfit driver on the road, and then you're making them have – I don't know if he's fit or not. I would say after 5 minutes of that test, you wouldn't be able to say whether he was fit or not.
That's too small of a sample size for you, right?
And it's not like he was out on the open highway driving 72 miles an hour.
It's like Walker Bueller pitching at the end of the year. You need more of a sample size than that.
All right, Nuggets are next. One of those days. Phils lose, Eagles lose, people are mad. Nuggets time, brought to you by the Hub, gear that works as hard as you do. Nick Earnshaw is here. The Nuggets now, I told you on Friday, I predicted a Dodger win and an Eagle ugly win. It should have been an Eagle ugly win. It was 17-3. That's ugly. It should have finished right around 17-10. But that's not what happened. And now we have an ultra-angry Monday. Let's check out the poll question at Mike Gill Show on the Twitter X platform. Which loss has made your Monday worse? If you update the poll right now, it looks like it's about, let's see, I'll hit the refresh button. 57% say Phillies, 42% say Eagles. Earnshaw, what do you got?
Yeah, I think I'd probably agree with the 57% at the moment right now. Phillies lost, very disappointing. I mean, both were. I mean, you go either way here, obviously. Just an angry Nugget today. Just an absolutely angry Nugget all around. But I'll start with the Phillies. And I'd probably go slight edge to the Phillies in the poll question. That was a disappointing loss. I was in the crowd. I went to the game up in the nosebleeds. I'll tell you what, through the first couple innings, that place was rocking. It was awesome. However, it seems like the Phillies don't care about playing at home anymore. It just doesn't seem to matter. That place could be rocking, doesn't matter. They don't win there anymore. 1-4 in their last home playoff games. It's very disappointing to see. And we talked about it on Friday. Which are you more concerned about, the bullpen or the top of the lineup? And you got to be concerned about both, right? I didn't think it had to be the manager as well, but the manager had some questionable decisions too. But I think it still goes back to the top of the lineup, right? One hit between those top guys, Turner, Harper, and Schwarber. And if you look at the last couple of playoff games for all of those guys, Bryce Harper has 1 home run in his last 7 playoff games. And if you go look at Schwarber, he does not have a hit in 4 straight postseason games. Trey Turner is batting 167 in his last 5 postseason games. These guys have not shown up in a while. It's been a couple of years since you've gotten some productive at-bats from Harper, Turner, and Schwarber in the postseason. And it just continued on Saturday night. It's the same story over and over again. And I tweeted it out. They are turning into the 76ers. This team it feels like a Sixer-esque type of loss on Saturday where it's like, oh, here we go again. The same story over and over. It's like the Sixers with the injury issues every year heading into the postseason. This time, it's the bullpen giving up the big hit, and the Phillies, top of the lineup, not doing a damn thing.
Yeah, I don't see anybody tweeting that you have to go sign Kyle Schwarber.
No, nobody's tweeting it right now.
You
Not
can
right
say
now.
that when he homers against the Rockies or the Nationals.
And that's part of the problem. A lot of people get overly excited about these unbelievable regular seasons that mean absolutely nothing. The regular season, look, we talked about this the other day, okay? The regular season, I hate to deem them meaningless, but like you get a guy that hits 300. How many of those at-bats and hits come against pitchers who absolutely don't belong in the major leagues? What is your batting average against playoff quality pitchers? That's what I want to see. I don't want to hear Trey Turner's a 300 hitter. Get the hell out of here. What is your batting average against playoff quality pitchers? What is your batting averages against Ohtani and Snell and that level of pitcher? I don't want to hear what your batting average is against these crap burgers that you face for the Marlins and the Pirates and the Royals. I don't want to hear that batting average. I want to hear what your batting average is against the legit dudes. And this team's batting average against the legit dudes ain't good. And I said on Friday, Ohtani will overwhelm them and overpower them. And I'll give them credit. They scored 3 runs against Ohtani. But an hour into that game, it was apparent they got nothing left. He was overpowering them and was outmatching them. He made Harper look like an idiot twice. He threw 2 fastballs straight down the middle of the plate and said, Harper, here you go. Hit it, dude. What do you got? You can't catch up to me, old man. They can't hit these guys. And I said tonight, Snell's going to strike out 12 guys tonight.
Yeah, and the outfield's an issue because Bader's not playing tonight. You have Otto Kemp out in left field. Marsh in center, and
this is the worst
right.
defensive outfield in the history of baseball tonight. And that's not even hyperbole.
No.
It could be the worst defensive outfield in the history of baseball. You got Otto Kemp, who's played about 4 games in left field. Brandon Marsh is a solid left fielder, not a good center fielder. and you got Nick Castellanos, who's probably the worst outfielder in all of baseball, and is playing right field tonight. That's your starting outfield defensively tonight. Awful.
Yeah, it's not good. Listen, they got to Ohtani. Like, they had him rocked in the one inning to get 3 runs. JT with the big triple, right? Bader then hits the sacrifice fly to bring him in. You're like, all right, you're feeling good. You're up 3-0 on the Dodgers. And then just malpractice by Rob Thompson. I don't know what he's thinking. You had to pull Sanchez. He started falling apart. So I understand that. There's no reason to send David Robertson back out there. I mean, none. 0. And by the way, you know what else I thought of? I heard you guys earlier.
I disagree with you on that one.
I do not think he should have went back out there. No way. You have a fresh bullpen. You have a fresh bullpen. Every guy's ready to go.
Here's the situation. If you start the inning with somebody, they have to face Ohtani. And he did not want a right-handed pitcher facing Ohtani, and he didn't want the left-handed pitchers facing Pages or Will Smith. So he knew, if I get Robertson back out there, I can get him out because he doesn't have to face the 3 hitters.
Yeah, but it always seems when that happens, it doesn't work out. When they send a guy back out of the start inning and then bring another guy back in to have runners on. It just doesn't seem to work out.
Well, the question is, he takes out Sanchez. And you don't want to bring Kerkering in that spot because Kerkering's been awful with inherited runners.
No, yes, I agree. We've talked about that.
Right.
Yeah,
so his option was Kerkering or Robertson or Taijuan Walker.
And you know what sucks is that they don't have a flamethrower, a guy who's got caught for steroids this year, who's a lefty.
I don't like the decision. I don't like the decision to go to Robertson either, really, in that spot, but he's who they have in that spot. He's what they signed to pitch in that spot. He is pretty much your highest leverage right-handed pitcher at this point. So that's your high leverage situation. So you might not like who they have in that spot,
then
but
why
that's
not go
who
to
they
Ranger?
have.
Is it putting him in a good position, though? It's not putting him in a good position to succeed.
Especially Strom either.
Well, Strom... Well, he's the lefty to face Ohtani.
I know. Well, this is the problem. If they had Jose Alvarado, I'd feel a little bit more comfortable in that position, in that pocket of the game. But they don't have him either.
Right, but I'm saying, look, you were talking about, I think they actually managed it the right way. It's just you don't like who they had in those positions.
I would prefer, if you're going to talk about bringing Ranger Suarez in, he's available. Everybody's available. Why bring in Robertson? Why not bring in Ranger in that spot? You saw what the Dodgers did.
Well, I just explained to you. They didn't want the lefty facing the righties.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you could have brought in Strom instead, or over Strom. You could have brought in Ranger instead. You could have done that. You could have brought in Walker Buehler. Why'd you sign Walker Buehler then? I mean, they had a litany of guys they could have went to instead of sending Robertson back out again for that top half.
I get that, but the point you're missing is if you start the pitcher in that inning, he has to face 3 hitters. And the first 2 hitters of the inning were right-handed, and then you have Ohtani. So by keeping Robertson in the game, he could get that guy out after 2 hitters and then switch to a lefty. If you started somebody else in that inning, they have to face 3 hitters. And listen, I don't know if you know this by now, but in 2025, you ain't throwing a right-handed pitcher against a left-handed batter and vice versa.
No, I understand. That's why I'm saying you could have brought in Walker Buehler or somebody else to start.
I agree. My point, and I said, you could have brought Walker Buehler in instead of Robertson in the 6th inning.
True. Yeah.
To get the one out. I agree with that. I said, I don't like that Robertson was the guy, but my point is, unfortunately, on this team, that's who your guy is. He is their highest leverage right. You might not like that answer, but he is their highest leverage right-handed pitcher. And that tells you what? Their bullpen's not good enough. So they managed it the right way. They just have low-quality, high-quality pitchers.
But what you also could have done is you could have said, enough with lefty-righty, righty-lefty. You could have brought in a guy like Ranger, right? You could have brought him in to face all those guys. That could have been what
I agree with that. I said you could have just brought Ranger in to face the right-handers.
Everybody. Yeah.
And I don't know why they didn't do that. That would have been the one thing. And I said I probably would have used Walker Buehler over David Robertson. But again, this is all well planned out ahead of time of who's the highest leverage guy in the bullpen. This isn't like, hey, I got a crazy idea tonight. Let me go with David Robertson here. No, that was already like
they already knew who they were going to. I know what you're saying there. I
mean,
I just think it was
to me as a fan, as a fan, and I think the 40,000 people in that stadium, everyone knew bringing back David Robertson for that inning was a bad decision.
Yeah, it was not.
I was
right.
I was listening to.
You were watching the game on TV. Did you think that was a good decision?
I didn't have a huge problem with it
in the moment
because, he gets out of the inning with Muncy, who I thought Muncy had a terrible at bat, got himself out for the most part there.
Yeah.
But he gets out of that inning, he threw 4 pitches, 5?
Yeah, but
he finished with 15.
In the
so
past, though, when they bring him back out to start the inning after getting one out, you just can't do it because these guys, they're so regimented. They're not good enough.
But again, the point is, if he starts someone else to start that inning, they then have to face Ohtani.
Yeah, yes. I know. They have to face
that's
3 batters.
That's why. And you're facing the number 8 and number 9 spot in their lineup. So you're saying, I have my best right-handed pitcher. Now, again, you might disagree with that's their best right-handed pitcher.
Right. That's
who they have as their best right-handed pitcher. So my point goes back to, they actually navigated it the right way. They just don't have a good enough right-handed pitcher.
No, and Robertson's been awful. He's had 11 ERA, above 11 ERA in the month of September. Kerkering was awful with runners on, so you're stuck there. But it's the point of maybe bringing in one of those starting pitchers, right? The Rangers of the world, the Buehlers, one of those guys, and just face all those players.
Right. That's what we were. That's what we were talking about earlier. Is the overthinking it and the overanalyzing it.
Yep. Right. Again, I think that's when you could have used either Walker Buehler to come in the 6th to get Muncy and then bring him back to be the guy who starts the 7th because he's more used to doing that. And then if you want him to face those top 2 batters of the inning, then you bring in Strahm, who ended up getting Ohtani. He did his job. He got Ohtani out. The problem was because the first 2 guys got on base, he then had to face 3 hitters, and one of his 3 hitters ended up being Hernandez,
and it wasn't
a right-handed
hitter.
hitter.
It wasn't a clean inning for him either.
No.
Well, no, he struck Ohtani out. Then he got Betts out. Those are the 2 toughest guys. And then, of course, the lefty faces the righty. But you couldn't get him out of the game because he has to face 3 hitters. And this is what they're trying to avoid.
Yep, and it just continues to be a problem. They can't get out of these big spots. But then they had an opportunity later in the game with Amundo Sosa with the bases loaded who pinch hit for Marsh. And that didn't work out. They're leaving runners on again. The Phillies just do not come up with the big hit. It
was bases loaded, 2 outs.
Yep.
And they brought a lefty in.
Yep.
To face Marsh. So the Phillies countered with Sosa. It's not a ludicrous move.
No, I'm not complaining about the move. I'm just saying they don't get the timely hit. That is the problem.
No, you know what? You texted though. I remember you texting me. You said this would have been the Castellanos spot.
That probably would have been the Castellanos spot.
But he was already in the game.
But yes, exactly. But he had a hit for Bader, who got hurt. Yep. Because listen, Sosa is your version of Hernandez. Hernandez gets a double. Sosa's your guy who's the unheralded guy, and your unheralded guy can't get the job done. Theirs did.
Yeah, it seems like it's always that's the case, right? Like that the Phillies can't get the big hit. The other team
for me to advocate for hitting Castellanos in any situation, but that's what I did. I texted our group, and I said, this is probably where Castellanos would have hit. Now, Castellanos came up the bat and hit into a freaking double play.
Yeah, you can't make it up. I mean, you can make it up. It is pretty obvious that would happen. But, I think when he came in for Bader, I thought I was going to blow a gasket that he was
at that moment, I was
like, wait, hold up. What happened here?
Yeah, I'm not an I hate being an overreactive tweeter, but I did actually tweet dude, this is a terrible decision to put – because that, to me, would have been the manager decision.
Yes.
No one's telling you before the game, hey, you're going to hit for Bader with Castellanos.
Yeah.
No way. So at that point, you had to assume something was wrong.
Yeah. So then it comes out, the groin injury, and he's not playing.
And he's not playing tonight, Bader. Yep. So it's bad enough that he's not playing tonight.
Yeah, I don't feel good about tonight.
Now, I wonder, did Thompson say whether he's available to pinch hit or anything?
He's available. He is available to pinch hit. He did. Yes, he did say that.
Just can't really sprint.
So he can't play the outfield.
Yeah.
No. Nope. All right. Before I get out of here, got to complain about the Eagles a little bit too. I mean, yesterday, after that Saquon Barkley touchdown, right, in the second half, the Eagles had just 14 plays that resulted in a 3 yards gain, a net total of 3 yards gained in the second half. They just wanted to cater to the wide receivers yesterday, and they did it way overboard. When they should have been running the ball, running out the clock in the second half, they did not do that, Mike. I mean, that was another choke job again by a Philadelphia team 2 days in a row yesterday.
Well, we have a text chain where one guy in there wants the Eagles to be less conservative, where if being conservative would have won you the game yesterday.
Yes.
Because the fact that they were conservative a year ago was why they won the Super Bowl. And I say conservative, you can run the ball and not be conservative. You can have a high-powered running game. Just because you don't throw the ball doesn't mean you're not you're always conservative. But a 17-3 game last year, they ran that game out. And guess what? It was exciting to watch them run out 7 minutes of the clock, and you can't stop us. And then what happens? The most exciting play of all. Saquon Barkley blasting one for 70-plus yards or a 52-yarder. They can't do it right now. They cannot run these games out, and they didn't even try to run the game out yesterday. They tried to put the ball, and this is where I talk about these stupid lists that gets everybody up in arms. Jalen Hurts isn't one of those top 5 guys. That's the thing.
Not the lists. Here we go with the lists.
There you go.
There we go with the list.
There you go. That doesn't mean he's bad. It's just that's not what his strong suit is.
Joe Burrow does not blow a fourth quarter lead like that, does he? Does Josh Allen do that?
If Joe Burrow had to throw the ball 38 times yesterday, he probably would have 425 yards and 4 touchdowns.
And they do well.
Now, I'm not saying that Hurts is bad. That's not my point here. That's not what he's best at. That's not what he's best at.
You also have to finish your routes as well. That has to happen too. All right,
Right. You got to run it out to first base, man. You cannot dog it on those grounders.
Those are the Nuggets brought to you by The Hub. Gear that works as hard as you do. We'll do them again tomorrow. Coming up next, Sal Paolantonio. It's a Sal Pal Monday on the Sports Bash. 97.3 ESPN. You're home for Game 2. Phillies, Dodgers tonight at 6. 5 o'clock hour here at the Fanatic Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. Our first reaction is brought to you by First Bank of Sea Isle City. This season, score big with First Bank of Sea Isle City. From savings to mortgages, we're on your team helping you reach the end zone. First Bank of Sea Isle City, your hometown bank, your winning play. Our final hour of the show. A lot of Eagles, a lot of Phillies, a lot of disappointment. But what disappointed us about the Eagles game yesterday was a 17-3 lead that evaporated right before our very eyes. And it's a Sal Pal special Monday right now on the Sports Bash Live because, Sal, that is a game that the Eagles run out yesterday. Last season, I should say. They run that game out, and they just strangle you and put you away. 17-3, entering the final stanza. Can you believe that we are talking about an Eagles loss today? I do have that subject line. Eagles could lose this game, that this is the worst game management job. Oh, yeah, it was 3:36, so this game had just started the fourth quarter, and I got that, and I said, you're absolutely right, because this is a game that they would have run out last year. Now, we talk about this. Why are they having such problems running the football? They're getting away from it, but are they getting away from it because they're acquiescing to A.J. Brown and his complaints? They just can't do it. Why have they not had success running the football? generally not a recipe for, you can do that throughout the course of the year. But if you have a formula to win in one particular week, everybody getting their touches be damned, right? Yeah. Right before halftime, yeah. Yeah. Well, and Sal, I think we can all agree that one thing in the Sirianni era, you haven't had a lot of times where we're talking about mismanagement of the clock or mismanagement of a game. Like, that has been one of his strong suits is they manage the game to win. They manage the game correctly, whether it's conservative or boring or whatever you want to use. They generally do not mismanage the game. That is why yesterday was such a odd way that game started to feel like it was going in the second half. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Sal Paolantonio is with us. It's a Sal Pal special Monday edition. Yeah, listen, nobody wants people getting fired or anything or asking, but what if the Eagles made a mistake with the offensive coordinator? Is that possible that the guy's just not ready for a team that's coming off of a Super Bowl to say, hey, this is your first opportunity? Is that something that is concerning? Hey, now. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and I opened up with that. The fact that they went for 2 immediately was that they knew that was a confident team and knew that you were shaking, that you were on the ropes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, it was. There was a lot. The fumble. Yeah, the fumble. What'd you think of the Bond hit? Yeah. Yeah, it just felt like the guy was still trying to get more yard. Yeah, that's a bang thing. But the fumble. Well, nothing was worse. I don't know if you. Yeah. Well, nothing was worse than the sack on Dart yesterday. I mean, I don't know what that guy was. He didn't even wrap his arms up. He just knocked him over, and they threw a flag on that play. That was in the. Ooh. Yeah. Jeez. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it was terrible, and that play specifically. I mean, they were all over him there. That being said, Sal Paolantonio, obviously they got to get right back for a Thursday game, and I know you're playing the Giants, who have had their struggles here. But what is the feel around this Eagles team right now on a short week? By the way, Saquon, it was a DNP today with a knee injury. He was listed as a DNP. That just came out moments ago. My producer Josh sent this to me today. Saquon Barkley, knee DNP. Landon Dickerson, ankle DNP. Calcaterra, oblique DNP. Jahad Campbell, bicep L limited. And Byron Young, limited. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I'll tell you, that is a good observation by Jimmy and you to bring that up, because the questions that Nick was being asked today at his day after was about these deep shots and the fact that did the quarterback and the receivers, are they talking about this? And he was, everybody showing the video of AJ. It looked like he stopped. Did he stop? Did he just lose? Did he not track the ball? But you're right. They had multiple big shots down the field that were open that they did not connect on. Yeah. By the way, Sal Paolantonio was at the Plaza Hotel in New York City. 30 years of service to ESPN, and that looked like a fantastic celebration. Well, good stuff. A tremendous ride for you. But, hey, let's hope this Eagles team gives us a tremendous ride. But a game like that on Sunday is not going to get it done. Yeah.
And by God, they can throw the ball deep. Throw it.
Yeah. Hey, you said don't listen to people on Twitter. I tweeted, big picture, probably best that the Eagles lost that game. It feels like they
man, I don't like that. I don't like that. No, down 17-3, you can't lose that game.
I agree with that, but it feels like you said it. They're not going to go 17-0. They need one of these where it's like, okay, we got to fix it, because it just kept feeling they were winning games, but something wasn't right. Sometimes it takes that loss to make you take that step back.
Well, it's possible, because you saw what Saquon and A.J. Brown said after the game. Saquon said, now this is real adversity, time to go to work. And A.J. Brown said, this loss really stinks. So, maybe it will make them look in the mirror, A, and B, be less concerned about what they are getting and what the team needs. Because you remember last year after week 4, they came back from Tampa and they had a complete reconfiguration of what they're going to do. And maybe you're right. Maybe this is that game. As horrible as it was, maybe this is that game. But the biggest positive takeaway is throw the ball down the field, Michael. It's there. Yeah. Take those shots. Keep taking them.
That's there. One messaging that you kept hearing, though, Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith, we're not on the same page. That was the messaging from a lot of these guys, that we're not on the same page, and I don't know who that's directed at.
Yeah, that's they got to get it fixed. But so, you weren't going to go 17-0, so now there's a little bit of a wake-up call. And it happened in your house against a team that you did not want to lose to. So it was painful for fans and the players and the coaches. And, it's pretty obvious what happened. They have to face the facts. It was mismanaged, and it was there to win, and they didn't get it.
All right, Sal Paolantonio on a special Monday edition right here on the Sports Bash Live. We're over at the Fanatics Sportsbook in Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City, filling up for the Phillies here, who've had their own problems. But Eagles lose. They'll play Thursday night right here on 97.3 ESPN. All right, Sal, we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, Michael. I'll talk to you on Thursday, 5 o'clock.
There we go. We locked it in. A Sal Pal Thursday this week special for the Eagles and the Giants. You can listen to 97.3 ESPN. There he goes, Sal Paolantonio, everybody, here on the Sports Bash. And, you know, he brought it up multiple times. 17-3, you can't lose that game. And I'm not asking to lose the game on purpose, or that's what I'm saying. I agree. You got to close that game out, 17-3, but it almost feels inevitable that this team needed a kind of a kick in the butt.
It's the way they lost the game. Very uncharacteristic. Zach Bond penalty, the illegal shift, a lot of that kind of stuff. This is a veteran team, right? They just won the Super Bowl.
Well, they're a very young defense.
They are.
They are a young defense, but the defense isn't usually who you have the questions with, right? And they gave up 18 points in the fourth quarter, but they were on the field all day.
74 snaps.
Oh, I'm looking at this, by the way, second half of the game, really from the Eagles' first touchdown. Punt, end of half, then they scored again. Punt, 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 punt. And by the way.
And Denver punted a lot too.
Hold on. Punt, 3 and out. 3 plays, 2 yards. Punt, 3 plays, -6 yards. Punt, 3 plays, -16 yards. 5 plays in a punt. 3 plays in a punt. 6 plays, 33 yards. 3 and out. 3 plays, 3 yards on the first drive. They're going 3 and out the whole day.
That second quarter was just all punts except for that touchdown.
Sorry I missed it. Jeez. I was on the ferry at that point.
It was a nice day for that.
Beautiful day. All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. The 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. And that's our Eagle First Reaction, brought to you by First Bank of Sea Isle City. This season, score big with First Bank of Sea Isle City. From savings to mortgages, we're on your team, helping you reach the end zone. First Bank of Sea Isle, your hometown bank, your winning play. We're going to go up to Citizens Bank Park next. Mike McGarry is there with an update on the Phils. Harrison Bader is not in the lineup. Wait till you hear how they're replacing him today. And will we see Ranger Suarez or Aaron Nola in tonight's game? Find out next. 5:31, leading you to Phillies-Dodgers Game 2, Citizens Bank Park. Jesús Luzardo starts tonight for the Phillies. He is opposed by Blake Snell. The Dodgers have announced that Yamamoto will throw in Game 3. The Phillies have yet to announce a Game 3 starter. That depends on what happens tonight. Mike McGarry is live at Citizens Bank Park. He's brought to you by Broadleaf's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, serving South Jersey since 1911, keeping your home comfort game day ready this season. And he joins us now with a live report from Citizens Bank Park. Well, that playoff game, Mike, felt like a lot of the playoff games that we have seen from the Phillies during this run. You get those early runs, you can't get anything else, bullpen falls apart.
Yeah, very reminiscent of Game 1 against the New York Mets last year. The same sort of thing. You get the early lead behind a great starting pitching performance, and the bullpen kind of falls apart. And, Mike, when you lose, as I'm sure you've talked about all day, when you lose Game 1 of a best-of-5 series, it's really tough to come back from that, and it's especially tough to come back from that when you lose Game 1 of a 5-game series at home. So, tough sledding for the Phillies going forward.
Let's talk about real quick some of the things that happened on Saturday night. Where do you think that game kind of, obviously everyone's talking about the Robertson thing in the 6th. They pull Sanchez, and then they bring Robertson back out in the 7th. There's that moment. You got the top of the lineup, 1 for 11 with 6 strikeouts. Where do you think that game kind of unraveled on them?
Yeah, to me, Mike, and I talked about this on PressiveAC.com, and I'm sure I've talked about it with you. It got away from them in the David Robertson, Matt Strahm sort of, maneuver there. I always thought that the key to this series would be how well the Phillies sort of bridged the gap from the starting pitcher to Duran. I thought Strahm was going to be a key factor in this series. Was he going to be able to get out the lefties? And conversely, were the Dodger righties like Mookie Betts and Teoscar Hernandez going to make Strahm pay for coming in the game to get the lefties? And the Dodgers got the battle of that, got the better of that battle the other night. And I still think that's the key point for this series is how do the Phillies bridge from the starter to Duran when they have the lead? They couldn't do it Saturday night. We'll see if they can do it tonight.
So a lot of people wondering why Robertson in the 7th, they bring him back out. He hasn't really done a lot of sit downs, come back out here. I think what Thompson had kind of, indicated was, hey, we only need to throw him for 2 batters, and then Ohtani's coming up, and you don't want Ohtani facing a righty. I guess, did they manage it the right way and just mismanage who they went to?
Yeah, I think it's just a lack of performance by the players. I mean, David Robertson threw 6 pitches in the 6th inning. Now, the question is, if not David Robertson to start the 7th, who? Could it be Orion Kirkring, the right-hander? Well, then he's got to face 3 batters, but, he can face the 2 righties and kind of pitch his way around Ohtani at that point. And even if Ohtani were to hit a home run off him, the score would be tied at 3-3, right? So at that situation, if Kirkring got the first 2 guys out. So, I probably would have started Strahm in the inning. I would have trusted him against the 8-9 hitters, though one of those 9 hitters was Will Smith, who usually bats cleanup for the Dodgers during the regular season, coming back from a broken hand. He entered the game late. That's why he was hitting 9th. But I probably would have started Strahm in that 7th inning, let him face the 2 right-handers, and let him get Ohtani. The question there is they wanted to have their cake and eat it too. They wanted Strahm to face Freddie Freeman, who was up after Hernandez. So asking Strahm to get 6 batters instead of 3 might be a lot. But then, Mike, it points to the overall makeup of the Phillies bullpen. Do they have enough arms in that pen to get the job done? And they didn't have enough arms on Saturday night.
So tonight, how will their bullpen possibly be different? It seems that they have not announced a Game 3 starter, Mike, because that could have something to do with the way they manage their bullpen tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Rob Thompson said before the game that Ranger Suarez, is available to pitch out of the bullpen. He said the same thing before Game 1, Mike, but I think he really means it this time before Game 2. We didn't see Ranger on Saturday night, but I think there's a fairly good chance that we'll see Ranger Suarez on the mound tonight. And that, of course, once they get through tonight, then they'll worry about Game 3. But I think he'll be the added guy, the X factor that's in the bullpen tonight and is used tonight but wasn't used on Saturday.
Aaron Nola also possibly out of the bullpen tonight?
I don't think you have Nola out of the bullpen. I think that's only in emergency situations because, Mike, if you go to Ranger tonight out of the bullpen, Nola is probably your Game 3 starter.
All right, Mike McGarry's live at Citizens Bank Park. We know Harrison Bader is not in the lineup tonight. This might be the worst defensive outfield you're going to ever see in a playoff game. Otto Kemp playing left, Marsh playing center, and Nick Castellanos playing right. Poor Jesús Luzardo tonight. But what is Bader's status for this game? Is he available? Do they expect that possibly he could play on Wednesday night?
Yeah, they said he is available to sort of pinch hit. They said the problem right now is his ability to run. I don't think he can run full speed, so I think that's what impacts him defensively. So, and that's, Mike, where I think his major loss is felt on the defensive side of the field. So his inability to run kind of hurts him there. Like you said, this is a very shaky defensive outfield with Castellanos in right, Marsh in center. Think of a play that Bader made early in Game 1, that sort of running, diving catch he made in right center field in Game 1. You know, Brandon Marsh doesn't make that play tonight. So we'll see what happens. But Harrison Bader available to pinch hit, but I doubt you'll see him in the field because of the groin injury. He really can't run full speed, and that's what impacts him.
Obviously, it's kind of a do-or-die situation here. Would you have gone with Luzardo tonight, or would you have rather have seen Ranger Suarez in pretty much a must-win game?
You know, it's interesting. I like kind of Rangers' postseason experience. He's gotten it done in big spots past. So in this situation with the season on the line, you know, Rangers experience kind of appeals to me, but I understand why they went with Luzardo off the season he had. You know, Luzardo 15-7, I think a 3.92 ERA. And if you take off a couple of those rough outings that he had in the middle of the season, you're talking about a guy who would have had a couple of Cy Young votes. So I think excellent move here on Luzardo. You know, I don't have an issue with it. I think Luzardo has pitched well all season and deserves the opportunity to start this game.
All right, Mike McGarry is live at Citizens Bank Park. Was there any other things out of the Thompson pregame availability that stood out today?
No, that's about it. Just I think we're at an all-hands-on-deck situation for the Philadelphia Phillies, right? You can't, you know, you have to win tonight, obviously. You know, they put themselves in such a hole by losing Game 1 at home. Obviously, this is a must-win situation, and I think it's all hands on deck. And, Mike, the other thing I think to look for is, and you talked about it earlier, the top of the order has to come through. They can't be 1 for 11 with 6 strikeouts. The guys you're paying a lot of money to, Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, and Bryce Harper, have to get it done tonight. There's 2 guys making $300 million over the life of their contracts in Turner and Harper. You can't have 1 for 11 with 6 strikeouts tonight. They have to get it done offensively against Blake Snell and the Dodgers.
And Blake Snell, by the way, not an easy for Schwarber and Harper, both lefties facing Snell. He struck out 12 when they saw him about a month ago out at Dodger Stadium. He'll get the start tonight in Philadelphia against the Phillies. It'll be Jesús Luzardo for the Phils. Mike McGarry is at Citizens Bank Park with that update on the Phillies Dodgers Game 2, which is coming up in 20 minutes. Thanks, Mike.
All right, Mike, we'll see you down the road. Thank you.
Okay, Mike McGarry's appearance is brought to you by Broadlee's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, serving South Jersey since 1911, keeping your home comfort game day ready this season. Okay, there you go. That live report from Citizens Bank Park. You got a little update on everything. Bader, available to pinch hit, can't really run, so I guess if he got on base, you'd probably have to run for him. Means if Bader does hit for somebody, it's almost using 2 moves in the game. And then the other domino effect is because he has to he can't play the outfield right now. You got Marsh playing center field, and you've got Otto Kemp now playing left field. But just think about, I mean, the pulse that Bader has given this offense. He has been the guy who this team has lacked so much in the past, which is that spark plug guy, right?
And that catch he made in Game 1, we should mention that as well. Hell of a catch.
Yeah, that is a
before
catch
the injury
that kept that game going in that spot right there. but losing his defense in center field, what he brings as an offensive player at the bottom half of the lineup. He's a guy that generally right now that Turner's back, is back in the bottom half of that lineup. So it gives you that kind of extra spark plug down in the lineup. Instead, you're hitting Otto Kemp in the, I think was he in the 9-hole today, Kemp?
Yeah, Kemp's in the 9-hole, yeah.
So Kemp, you got in the 9-hole. You got Edmundo Sosa hitting 7th. You've got Brandon Marsh, I think, hitting 8th tonight because he is left-handed, and he will face a left-hander in Blake Snell. It is not an enviable situation for this team to be in, down 1-0. But as Mike said, teams that have lost game 1 at home in these 5-game series, they generally do not go your way. And,
all throughout baseball, you look at it, Milwaukee, they cruised over the weekend against the Cubs. Toronto's obviously up 2-0 in that series. Seattle, Detroit, they tied up last night. And Phillies in danger, going down 0-2.
Right, so you can't really talk. Last year the Dodgers won the World Series. The Yankees made it to the World Series. Those were two teams that both got the bye. So everybody talking about, the bye, and you sat out for the whole week, that is something that has happened, right? That is something that you just talked about it. Toronto, they had the bye. They seem to be okay. They scored 13 runs yesterday. They scored, 10 runs or 11 runs on – no, that was a 2-1 game in the 7th on Saturday. The Blue
on
Jay
Saturday,
game.
right.
Yeah.
But Milwaukee, they scored a bunch of runs.
Yeah, so
in
these
their
teams
game.
And by the way, you came out and scored 3.
Yep.
Right? You got out of the chute scoring 3 runs yesterday. So, look, this was a bad matchup.
Yeah.
Right from the get-go. I hate it to be, so down on this, but I just think the Dodgers pitching is just flat out better than yours.
Right. The Dodgers are a quote-unquote wild card team, right? But they're really not a wild card lineup,
Well,
right?
I'll tell you what. The Dodgers basically played the regular season on cruise control.
Yep.
Right? They played the regular season by – can you imagine if the Dodgers were the Phillies with what they pay their guys and how they manage the season? They don't let their guys go past the 5th inning.
Yep.
Like, they're pulling guys. You know how many text messages I get from our text group telling me how bad of a manager Dave Roberts is.
Every big game, Dave Roberts is a terrible manager.
Right. Because of the way he manages regular season games. I say it all the time. Like, the regular season games are managed way differently than these games. Now look what the Dodgers are doing. The manager is letting his – I don't think it's the manager as much as the Dodgers organization is saying, hey, you know what? Let's let these guys pitch a little bit longer into these games. I was saying all that. You think Dave Roberts wants to take Shohei Ohtani out of a game when he's throwing a no-hitter? Of course he doesn't. But that's what he's being told to do. And now they have kind of changed their approach. By the way, the Phillies, terrible job putting on the entrance.
Down 2 runs.
Pretty bad.
That was bad. I don't know who made that decision or if that was a plan.
Should have asked Nuggets about that because he was at the game.
Yeah, right.
What was the crowd reaction to that?
Is that just a decision going into the game? If Duran pitches, we're going to do it no matter what?
They paid all the money. I said, that's why they should be charging people for the entrance, because the Phillies figure we paid all this money for this entrance. We got to at least use it.
Yeah, they were down 2 runs, and you got Duran coming out with the Durantula stuff.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. Sports Bash Live at the Fanatic Sportsbook, Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. By the way, Penn State, they got punted on Saturday, too. They lost to a winless UCLA team. That game was on right before the Phillies game, where we were in Delaware. We were hanging out in Dewey Beach on Saturday. Didn't go well. You know what our record is at that bar?
0-2.
0-2. I'll never go back.
I think you got to stop going to that bar.
We're never going back there.
Go to the one across the street.
All right, we'll close out the show coming up next. We're getting ready to get out of here live at the Fanatic
J-Roll.
Sportsbook. Yeah, Ding Dong Johnson up there with Pedro Martinez and J-Roll. We got the Red October Phillies Game 2 coming up next right here on 97.3 ESPN. Football tonight. Good football game, too. Kansas City and Jacksonville's 3-1. That game will be on our sister station, Rock 104.1. We'll also have the Cubs-Brewer game on after
that's on tonight
the Phillies.
As well.
Yes.
Man, this October, man, let me tell you, they just hit you with game after game after game. You don't get a break.
Well, tomorrow you get the 2 American League games.
Yep.
On Wednesday, it's back to all 4. And then Thursday, it's the NL, and then it starts to dwindle down as teams start to get eliminated here. But tonight, you got the National League. Tomorrow, you got the American League. Wednesday, all 4. And then Thursday, back to the NL. Friday's the AL. Saturday, it's the NL.
Yeah, Phillies Dodgers 9:08 first pitch on Wednesday. I'm not a fan of that, but just gonna have to suck it up.
At least it's better than like 10:30.
Yeah.
That 10:30. West Virginia played 10:30
Yeah,
Friday. That was
game.
rough.
I didn't stay up for that game.
Oh. What else we got? Monday Night Football tonight will be on Rock 104.1. By the way, I got the Dodgers winning tonight, and I'm taking the over in Blake Snell strikeouts.
There you go.
The over-under, I think, is 6.5, I want to say.
By the way, the Bills lost last night, so no undefeated teams are left in the NFL.
Yeah, Patriots look good. It was a weird Sunday yesterday. Not a lot of great games yesterday. Dallas kicked the crap out of the Jets. Indianapolis punted the Raiders.
Arizona blew
Oh,
it.
that was an awful loss.
Awful loss.
Awful.
I don't know how these guys are still dropping the ball before they reach the goal line.
That's hideous.
I just don't know how guys keep doing that.
Like, is it the ball that much of a nuisance that you have to get it out of your hand before you, like, I don't get it.
I don't.
By the way, Blake Snell over-under for strikeouts is 7.5.
There you go.
Taking the over.
I think that guy over there will take your money.
You can get it at some better odds if you want to go up the ledger a little bit. If you want him to get 10 or more, it's plus 260. I'm going for 12, I think.
What's the Luzardo line? Do we have that?
Yeah, Luzardo's over under 6.5.
Okay.
And you can get that at plus 123, so you can get some decent value there. I wouldn't be surprised if he actually, because on Saturday we took the over for both Sanchez and Ohtani. And Sanchez hit that pretty early. Ohtani, you had to wait a little bit. He ended up with 9, though, in 6 innings. Yeah, this Phillies lineup against Snell, they're gonna. I think they're just gonna struggle. I'm going. My final score, I said 3-1 on Friday for Saturday's game. Tonight I'm going, I think L.A. wins 5-1.
Ooh.
5-1. L.A.
That's not a good score right there.
Nope, we'll react to it all tomorrow right here on the Sports Bash Live. Thanks to everybody at Ocean. As always, Fanatic Sportsbook should be filling up here momentarily for the Phillies and the Dodgers. Game 2 is coming up next right here on 97.3 ESPN.